but I'm just going to start with the pictures or the video of the Christmas trees. And we're waiting for Grace to come out. And once we get some viewers, we'll get started here. All right, so I'm just going to show some of the lights here while we're waiting for people to show up. We got somebody in here. We're waiting for Grace to come out. She's been eating, and I will go. I'm going to come out here in just a second, show you what we've done with our cars. These all can be powered by our Shack-in-a-Box Solaris solar generators. And they can run for a couple days. And that's courtesy of the Shack-in-a-Box Solaris solar generator. So I'm going to get in here and show you everybody. We haven't seen anybody together for a long time. Faith Hannah is not here tonight. She's the empty chair. There's Faith Hannah. And I'll let Michelle start. I'll start with me real quick. Hey there, Ham Radio homies. I am James WX for TV, and
I am Michelle, November 8, Zulu, Quebec, Zulu.
Zachariah, WX4TVJ.
Grace, Kilo Echo 3 Golf. And I'm Hope, November Delta 2 Lima.
And welcome to HamRadio.World.
Been a while.
Yeah, so it has been quite a while since we've done any real videos. We will get started here with what happened. 3 years ago this week, I went into the hospital for what was supposed to be a mitral valve fix that they said I'd be going home in 3 or 4 days. And I didn't wake up for 2 months. Just about 2 months. So the recovery has been, I would have to go. So there were complications in the surgery. We can't go into what the alleged complications were, but I ended up with losing both my legs and all or some of each of my fingers and thumbs. Can I get everybody in here? I'm blocking Hope. Anyway, so anyway, Hope can move and get in there somehow. And anyway, I ended up having both legs amputated, all of the fingers on my left hand, part of the thumb on my left hand, and then partial amputations of my fingers on my right hand. And that was the legs were amputated in February of 2023, and the hands were done in June, July, and August of 2023. And it has been a long 3 years of fighting insurance companies, fighting to get stronger, fighting to get healthy. And I'll let them share some things here, and then we'll come back to what happened this last week. So I'm going to turn back around, and who wants to go first with what they've been doing for the last few years?
No, he's going first. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Well, what you
Okay.
been studying and things?
I'll say, so I have been, Hope and I guess I will say, we did our best to keep the business going while he was in the coma and in the hospital. When he got out, that was very difficult also, in that we had to be caregivers, because at that point, he could only roll over on his side.
Barely.
Yes, barely. That was all he could do. So we were all caregivers. He has worked very hard, incredibly hard, to be able to be where he is now. And so anyway, we were driving him to so many doctor's appointments.
Several a day.
Several, yes, between 3 and 5 every day. Between 3 different towns, several hours apart.
Yes,
So,
like Jacksonville, Orlando,
yes,
Gainesville.
Gainesville, Jacksonville, Orlando, and Gainesville. Sometimes the same day. So we spent all our time doing that. I thankfully am able to do more building. We had to
With Shack in the
with
Box,
Shack
yeah.
in the Box. We've had to get information out of James's head in order to be able to build, because all of his designs were in his head and whatever Hope could remember. Because
Yes.
he had sold all our product. So thankfully Hope was able to.
Yeah, so while I was in a coma, I'm going to let Mom talk about what Hope did.
Well,
Hope reverse engineered.
Hope just reverse engineered what she could remember, and working off of pictures, we were able to rebuild the Go boxes that we had been selling. We were blessed with clients who knew the situation and were patient in waiting for
us to figure out how to build what had already been solved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they knew the
He
situation.
write down nothing.
Yes.
I'm getting better-ish.
So we have spent the past 3 years photographing, taking pictures and writing directions for ourselves, and getting the information out of his head and onto paper, into our computers, whatever we needed to do, into photographs, to
That
be able
accounts
to
for
build.
at least a third of the hours that we're recapping.
Yes.
Like, that's probably not even an exaggeration.
No, we've spent weeks.
Complete redesigning because he was like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, my short-term memory is shot because of the surgery. And
well, it's much better than it was.
yeah, it is better than it was, but
Yeah,
So
back
that
when
was
we
better.
were starting
I mean,
back
there was
up.
in the hospital. I wasn't remembering stuff that happened like a
10
minute
seconds
before.
ago.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. So we knew that we didn't know if his memory was going to get better, so we needed to pull that information out of his head whenever we could and run with it. Build in our
Yeah.
computers what he had in his head. So we spent 3 years doing that. I'm still working on it.
But at this point, we're pretty much back where we were with the volume of business that we're doing and like productivity, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sort of. I mean, he'll tell you more that we've done some huge redesigns.
We have.
Because we've been blessed with.
Before we go into that, do we want to talk about like the time in the hospital and what we went through? And because I don't know, I don't know how many people know what happened. I mean, I went in for a simple mitral valve repair. Mistakes were made, alleged mistakes were made. I died several times. I was in a coma for about 3 weeks, and then I woke up and I think I freaked out. They put me back in a coma.
We decided to. Surgery was December 8th. He never woke up. So we decided on Christmas that we wouldn't go see him at the hospital because we wanted to try our best to be
Zachariah, if you need to go get water, you can.
normal. Normal.
You guys will remember Zechariah made a video one time where he's like, you guys wonder why I'm not on the video because I'm doing differential equations and stuff you don't understand. Zechariah is not the most comfortable in front of the camera. But
Well, also he was
yeah, he's been sick. Yeah.
He's trying not to cough on it.
Yes.
Yeah, so
So anyway, we tried to have a normal Christmas and not go to the hospital because the children I let them kind of vote of how they wanted to handle Christmas, and so we decided to do it by ourselves. and to go to the hospital the next day, because there had been so much talk about pulling the plug, because he wasn't awake, he hadn't awoken from the surgery
Yeah.
3 weeks later or whatever, 3.5 weeks later. And the next day, we got permission to have the children all say their goodbyes, because we felt like probably later that day we were going to be pulling the plug. And got special permission because there were so many people in the room that we asked, meaning staff, because he had round-the-clock people that always had to stay in his room. I think at that point there were still 2 or 3 nurses that
Like
were
full-time.
full-time, always attending to his IVs and
That was still at the point where I was labeled the sickest person in the hospital, I guess, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you,
So-
Bill. I'm replying
so
to a
we-
text.
We brought the children and got permission for them to be able to one by one go in and say whatever it is they wanted to say to James, because
Scoot
I
over.
wanted them to have that opportunity.
He may not be coming back.
I think he is.
Okay, Andy Cowley says Happy Christmas, Lee family. Somebody else said amazing stories of perseverance with our family. There's been a lot of perseverance and a lot of. This has been not a walk in the park, but
Still tough.
Maybe a walk in Jurassic Park.
her walk.
You got a little bit.
Yeah, Hope got me a T-shirt.
That was Christmas a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah, it says I was eaten alive at Jurassic Park, and we went to go see the Jurassic Park movie a couple years ago at the cheap theater, and I wore the shirt, and we saw it, and I came out and I'm telling people, don't see it in 3D, it's too realistic. And one kid got it, and his dad was like totally offended by it, but
You're like the lawyer.
yeah. I think that's cool. I honestly, my sense of humor has kept me alive. God kept me alive with miracles, but I think if I didn't have a good attitude, I wouldn't be here. And my attitude is not great every day. You feeling better, Zechariah? Good. So, if anybody's got any questions
Can I
oh,
finish
go
my
ahead.
story?
Sorry. Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, you cut me off. Anyway, what I was going to say is we went in to say our goodbyes because we thought we would have to be pulling the plug either later that day or within the next couple of days. And you woke up when I walked in the room and said, hey dear, and touched your foot like I had always done. That's when you woke up.
That
You
was
didn't know where you were.
the day after Christmas.
That was the day after Christmas.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
They only kept you awake for a short time. You had not woken up from the surgery at all from that point. But after you did wake up, they let you stay awake long enough for them to do some tests on you, and then they pretty much knocked you out.
Yeah, you were
to,
not happy.
to more put you in a coma again, but through medicines that time.
Yeah. They needed you to stop freaking out and try. You couldn't really move, but you were still trying to move and pull stuff out. Important tubes.
Yes.
I had probably 20 or 30 tubes going into me at one point.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
And you said like 3 trees of
There were 3 different what I call IV trees.
with more than just like a couple. They were like with
Yeah.
12, 13. Yeah, Michelle can show pictures on her phone. It was brought up in we are in litigation. It was brought up that in the medical records that I bled like 7 liters in 4 hours, and that's
I forget what it was.
yeah, it was.
It was something incredible.
And Andy says he remembers about me waking up, I guess. And my pH was 7.0 and my lactic acid was
That's
off the
just-
charts.
That's just
Yeah.
part of one.
Yeah, that's part of one of the trees of
A lot of them were
IVs.
off by then.
And a room on the sickest of the sick in the hospital, and I was at the one that was right next to the charge nurse station, right?
Yes.
At that point.
You need to always have eyes on you.
So the fact that you got permission to have the children go in one by one, Tiki Bill, I'm the $8 million man.
Yes, he
Um, the just the
They
very
didn't
fact that
push you in.
you got to go in there and say what you were going to say.
Because they turned all the monitors and they still weren't expecting
Yeah.
you to live.
So Zechariah, you mentioned to me. Do you remember what you said to me?
I don't remember.
'Cause the girls never told me what they said, but I remember you telling me in the hospital, or maybe after I got out, that basically Zechariah was the last one to come in before you did, I think, Michelle, right?
No,
And-
she and I went in first.
I don't remember who went in first.
Basically, Zechariah, you told me, you said, hey, you've had all these things happen to you, you didn't die, so wake up. Is what you related to me.
Something like that, I think.
Something like that. And I woke up after they told you, they kept telling you he's a really sick man, and you can't even see the edge of the forest,
Yes.
kind of stuff. So
Even when things looked like they might be looking up, they kept saying, no, he's a very sick man. He's so deep in the woods, there's not a light to be seen.
yeah. So here's Luann, our next door neighbor. You're alive on YouTube, Luann.
Just what you wanted to
And
do, right?
her dog Bitzer. We're doing an update with our YouTube followers about what's happened over the last 3 years.
Well, that's gonna take a little while.
It's going to take a while, yeah. Yeah,
It's a beautiful night.
it is it's like it's a week before Christmas,
Yeah.
or 8 days until
It was
Christmas.
colder last week.
Yeah, it was in
Rainy all week. And
40s. Now it's probably like 65, 70 right now. I don't know if you can. Oh yeah, you can see Venus up there in the live stream. It's bright tonight. So
68.
Oh, so.
I remember in the hospital not being able to talk. And I've got the camera on me right now. I remember not being able to talk. And I remember you brought like a board with letters on it. I would point, and then I would nod my head or shake. And my short-term,
Halfway through a word, you forgot.
yeah, halfway through a word, I forgot. But I remember
Mm-hmm.
because of the POW in Vietnam, who did Morse code with his eyes, spelling torture like that. I tried to communicate with Morse code with my eyes, and you guys videotaped it. And
Well,
when
a friend of ours had reminded me about that.
yeah, Julio, Alpha Delta
Yeah,
4. No, it wasn't.
Julio.
Okay, I thought it was Julio.
Yeah. Anyway, a friend of ours had reminded me, so I tried to get you to do it, but you couldn't.
I couldn't control my
Well,
eyes.
you couldn't concentrate enough. They had you so drugged
Yeah.
that you couldn't. We had several people. I had some of the best CW people trying to read his eyes, and they couldn't get whatever message you were trying to
Yeah.
send. And you fell asleep in the middle of it.
I remember seeing the video and I fell asleep. Yeah. So after we got out of the hospital, we had months of going to the doctors every day.
Mhm.
Literally having to eat out 3 meals a day because we weren't home.
You couldn't be home to cook.
You couldn't be home to cook. I think you didn't cook for nearly 9 months, I think, right?
Probably
Maybe
longer.
more. I mean,
Probably longer.
Grace, this
Grace?
beautiful lady right here,
I I thought
Let's-
you were pointing at yourself. Are you
Let's
pointing
see.
at yourself
I'm
right
pointing
now?
at you. See, I'm not pointing at me. I just stuck my thumb in my
Making
nose.
dumb faces.
um,
Not the camera.
Grace did.
I'm going to say the children were amazing. They stepped up in ways I never expected.
Yeah, Zechariah, you did like the shopping.
He did all the grocery shopping. Grace kind of took over my position in the house in doing the cooking and the cleaning and whatever else needed to be done. And Hope helped with the business. And Faith Hannah was mostly gone.
But
She
then I was
was-
just trying to. She was taking too many credit hours.
Faith Hannah, I
And
think.
it was right during finals, and then the next semester started.
Yeah, all this happened during finals for all of them.
The day of the surgery was like, you were in a final, I think, weren't you,
No.
Zechariah? Or
I was.
Hope was.
Zachariah had driven me.
So, yeah, they were in
You would
finals.
take
But
me to my finals.
they all stepped up in amazing ways. Hope helped with the business. And I think it hit Faith Hannah the hardest.
Yeah,
And
Faith Hannah's not here, but yeah.
She wanted to go to medical school, and with all that has happened, that's changed. It's changed her path, her life path. I think
Yeah.
it's changed all of us drastically.
Yes.
I don't know how. Nothing in life prepares you for all this.
So one of the things that I think it was a life care planner or something, he came to our house. He's a doctor, and he says when you go through trauma like this, your brain changes and you can't make serotonin anymore, and it's hard to get to where you can just enjoy a situation. And I think we went
Yes.
through that. We may still be somewhat there, but I think for what we've been through, it could be a whole lot worse.
I feel like I rarely smile anymore.
Yeah.
But
So,
talk about you guys.
yeah. So if you guys don't want to go first, I'll talk about Faith Hannah.
What's she doing now?
Faith Hannah is at, I think, Aikido or
Something.
no, it's Tuesday. I think it's trivia night. Faith Hannah graduated from Stetson University last May, summa cum laude. Laude, highest
Top of the
on
class.
top.
Top of the class.
Yeah.
What is the highest?
The highest
Top of the
is summa because that's summit.
Oh, okay.
She graduated from Stetson debt free, thanks to the ARDC scholarships that she got through both the Foundation for Amateur Radio, the ARRL. She
Stetson.
won the
And Stetson scholarship.
and Stetson scholarships. She came in second in the country with the Patriots, not Patriots pen, Voice of Democracy.
Was it second or first?
No,
Second.
she got second.
Okay.
Yeah, the lady, the girl who won first, kind of wrote about communism being good, and Faith Hannah was like, I knew I wouldn't win if I. She knew what they were looking for. She did her research to find out what they were looking for, but she held to her standards and said, I'm going to stick by what I believe.
Second place is no joke. It's still $16,000.
$16,000 scholarship. So Faith Hannah graduated with a bachelor's of science in molecular and cellular biology, and she also graduated with a bachelor's of business administration in management, business management. So 2 degrees. She graduated last May. Hope graduated from Daytona. Tell us about that. You graduated before Faith Hannah did.
Well, no,
Different
she still graduated from Daytona State. I graduated Daytona State, so I had been dual enrolled there for an associate's degree. So I was majoring in biomedical engineering. I graduated in not this past May, but the May before that.
Yeah.
It was May 23.
Yeah, May of
Um,
23.
So
Yeah.
I've been at Embry-Riddle for electrical engineering for a year and a half. And I'm, as of today, applying for the master's program.
The accelerated masters. Zechariah, you can tell us about you have applied to that. How did that go?
Well, I was applied back, or I was accepted back in September, but the email didn't go through.
Yeah.
So
So you
I
recently
didn't, I
found
didn't,
out.
I didn't know that I was accepted until a few weeks ago.
So what does the accelerated masters mean? We've got 14 people on here. They may not know what it is. What does that mean?
It means you take master's level classes while you're taking undergraduate classes.
And you can graduate with a master's degree?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, sort of. You graduate your bachelor's first, and then you have about a year left in your program. Sometimes 6 months, but sometimes a year.
Sometimes none at all. Sometimes you graduate with both at the same time.
My advisor told me you weren't allowed to,
That's what
because
they
I would
do.
go in a.
So we have learning curve here in this one.
Yeah, we have a learning curve.
They both
Different
have
people
different
tell
both-
you different things.
Yeah, we have different advisors, but we're both gonna start the same master's program.
I can say that the advisors at Embry-Riddle is an incredible school, but the advisors are pretty much non-existent,
Well,
Lack
they
of
they
ability.
all
they
tell
lack
you
it.
different things.
and they're hard to get into. But
We'll figure it out.
oh, you did something at Embry-Riddle in April. What did you guys do there?
Oh, so I'm the president of the Amateur Radio Club on campus, and we organized and finally in April held an AIRS contact. So we had a bunch of local schools, middle schools, and they got to come in and talk to Matthew Dominic, right? It was-
Matthew
it was
Dominic.
And so
And who is he and what does he do?
well, he is an astronaut. If I recall, he's an electrical engineer. So, but he's an astronaut. He just got back from the International Space Station not too long ago.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, we had fun. I don't know if we're doing it another time, but AIRS has been a lot of help this year. They want us to go up and speak for them at a conference in May
In
Montreal.
in Montreal. So Zechariah, you're kind of involved in some stuff at school.
Yeah. I'm not an active member of the amateur radio club there because I was already an officer in 2 other clubs before I even knew it existed.
It didn't really exist while you were
Yeah,
there.
That too.
It was a startup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I knew it existed, but at the same time, it was so under the radar that I kept forgetting about it.
But what
Like-
are you involved in?
Yeah, I'm a secretary of the robotics club as well as the secretary and operations manager of the UAS technology club, so drones.
Drones. That's a big deal right now. Drones, like over.
I can tell you, if that one crazy lady who did her live stream is watching right now, it is not in any way connected to those Starlink satellites, which definitely are Starlink. It is Elon Musk doing that, or those what they call space jellyfish. This is not an alien invasion. Those are not corals or spaceships. Yes, I saw that. People are preparing for an alien invasion because of these.
Yeah, I saw that. So Zechariah, you had to do something with the FAA. What
Yeah,
did you do?
let me bring something out.
All right, so Zechariah will go out. Grace, you've been sitting here quiet. Grace, you are old enough to drive, but not got a license yet.
Well,
But
I
what's-
think that's another thing that it put all this put Grace behind a little bit.
Yes, it
compared
did.
to the others in getting her classes started at the college and driving.
Yes. So what's going on with you?
So far, I've just been grinding away at classes for an associate's degree. Then probably gonna go on to a bachelor's of science in geology. Not really sure what comes after that. I don't have clubs, but I've been writing several books. I'm not gonna give away any storyline. That is all subject to change. But Zechariah's here with some show and tell.
So Zechariah, what do you got here?
So this has been a personal project of mine over this last semester. This was one of the UAS Tech Club's old aircraft. This thing, before I got this, it had not flown since around 2017, so about 7 years. This is a DJI Phantom 2 Vision Plus. It was actually the first DJI drone to have a 3-axis gimbal system that could be adjusted in flight, which is now standard on all DJI and most camera drones for most companies. It was actually one of these types, a Vision Plus, that got me interested in drones because it was the first I'd ever flown.
So, and you're studying what in Embry-Riddle? What are you doing?
Computer engineering.
You're not learning to be a pilot?
No.
Okay.
Too expensive.
Yes, it is. So,
Make a wait list.
Not anymore, apparently.
so I started I'm going to segue into this. There was this lady named Lori Belush. Her maiden name is Lori Cecil, and that's what she goes by now. She is a certified driving rehabilitation and something specialist. She teaches people to drive with hand controls. She saw our GoFundMe, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. If you guys want to help, there is a link in the top of the description. She saw the GoFundMe and she called me and she said, or she reached out on Facebook, and she said, I don't have enough money to donate, but I'd like to teach you how to drive. And she came to our house, and Michelle, you tell it better than I do because I don't remember a whole lot of it.
Well, I mean, she said she didn't have a whole lot of money, but she had the know-how to do things, and could she take a look at our house and see possibly how she could help? And she walked through the house and looked James, from head to toe of what his situation was and our house situation, and she talked to us for a while, and then she said, I'll get back with you. And when she came back, she had all kinds of tools, gadgets,
Life-changing
things for
Yes.
them, and hope.
Not-
She brought hope.
She brought
Um,
Hope, not our daughter Hope.
No, not her daughter Hope. But she brought hope. She didn't talk about driving at that point. She was just talking about, let's teach him how to get onto a toilet. I mean,
Yeah, so she's an occupational therapist as well.
Yes, the insurance company never got us a wheelchair. They never got us shower chair. They never got us anything. And so she said she started looking around, and she brought us some things. And one of the things that she did was she got us a toilet chair that he could use, and that's been life-changing.
That was what, in August or September.
Probably.
I had been home from April 15th, stuck using a bedpan.
Yep. Which meant
That
the rest of us were cleaning up.
changed life for all of us.
It did. It brought life back to all of us. She changed everything. But she did things like bring rocker knives that he could use.
Yeah,
His, I don't know what you'd call
'Cause-
it. The stump
the stump of here's my hand for you guys
he
who.
could stick it through and rock something, and so now he can eat. We had different things that she rigged up so you can hold a fork. Or
Yeah, well, at this
spoon or
point,
something like that.
my amputations were still healing, and I didn't have the dexterity. You guys were having to cut a hamburger.
We had to feed you.
You had to
We
feed me.
Hold the hamburger
Yeah.
and do everything. So she did some things that freed us all up, and then eventually she said, "I can teach you to drive." That
Yeah.
again changed our lives.
So that brings me to I started driving. Well, we needed to get hand controls.
Yes.
And
Well, she had hand controls on her car.
yes,
But some of these freedoms allowed you to get in our car.
yeah. I was having
Physical
to
therapy.
I was having to use a transfer board to get into Faith Hannah's Subaru Outback,
Yes.
which then became Zechariah's Subaru Outback, which then what happened to it, Zechariah?
Burned.
Not by his
Something
fault.
else that happened in the past
Yeah.
few years.
About a year ago today, I think. It was like the 8th or 9th. It was close. I got a phone call from a mechanic, and they're like, is this Zechariah Lee's dad? I'm like, yeah. Well, we know it's his last day of work, and I'll let Zechariah tell you where he was. And you were getting, I guess, your oil change and some stuff done. And they managed to mess up his car pretty badly. Zechariah, tell us real quick, where were you, and how did we get there, and why were you there? You and I, you, why were you up where you were in that town?
Yeah, I was doing a co-op with Collins Aerospace. Yeah, then I was at work when I got the call.
But tell us about Collins. What did you do? What you can tell us, I know.
I worked on the KC-46, the new tanker aircraft. I didn't work on the physical aircraft. I worked on some of the avionics.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah.
You learned a lot?
Yeah.
But on the way up there, you and I rode in separate cars.
Yeah.
What did we do?
We stopped by a bunch of museums.
Yeah, so that was part of my
Airplane museums.
airplane museums. Lots of them.
Zacharias loves airplanes.
That,
Birds.
that was part of my healing and recovery, was just
That
being
was-
able.
That was right after Hamvention.
Yeah, we
left
drove.
from Hamvention.
We left from
The
Hamvention, so
girls and I drove home separately.
I had been driving for about 3 weeks, and I said, if I don't just jump off the cliff and take the double black diamond slope for the first run down the hill, I may not do it. And that proved to me that I could get back in the workforce, get back independent. So, Zechariah, what happened to your car? So it
I don't remember exactly what happened, but I think I had sent it in to get some work done. They were checking the engine, but they forgot to put the fuel line back on. So, yeah, you can imagine what that would do.
yeah,
It caught fire and burned to a crisp.
it burned. Yeah, you had a hot rod.
Hot rod.
So I get the phone call, and I'm like, so is this Zechariah's dad? I'm the mechanic. And I'm thinking, so why is he calling me instead of Zechariah? And he's like, so the short story is the car's totaled. And I'm thinking, well, what about my son? Is he alive? Oh yeah. We were test driving it. But I have to say, when I started driving right up there, because I knew Zechariah was leaving to come back to Florida like 2 days later, and he would need a way to get home with his stuff. So I drove up there to get him, and first thing I did was go to that place, and Zechariah's burned out car was in the back, and the owner came out and said, get out your video camera, I'm going to show you exactly what we did wrong. So he forced his insurance company to cover it.
Honest man.
Honest man, a lot of integrity. So back to you, Grace.
I haven't been doing as much as the others have.
Yeah, but you went to Canada.
Yeah. This last summer, I got to go to Youngsters on the Air camp, which took place up in Canada this year in Nova Scotia. It was my first time out of the country, so that was cool. And we spent, a week there? Hope was one of the returning people, so she was like a counselor, or I'm not sure what they call it. A team lead, or she led one of the groups of attendees. So we had a lot of fun. I got to meet a bunch of new hams, or a lot of old hams that we know. So I would recommend, if there's any kids interested in the audience, I don't know who's watching.
We got 18 people watching. I don't know who's
You get to
watching.
do your thing of the Bay of Fundy.
Oh yeah, there's a bay up there where you can find a ton of rocks. If you don't know me, I like rocks and fossils, so that was wonderful.
When
We-
we travel, the car comes back about 1,000 pounds
We
heavier.
came back with probably 78 to 80 pounds of rocks in the back of the Suburban.
Probably more.
Maybe more.
Niagara Coast, so it's a lot of rock you need to get.
I mean, do you see all of those rocks?
Oh, we can't see it.
We
Yeah,
have- we
go
have
get a rock.
lots
Those
of
are
rocks.
some of them.
So, Grace, you want to be a geologist or a paleontologist.
I
But
haven't quite figured out.
You're
what,
at
but
Daytona
yeah.
State, but you're also in high school. How does that work?
Just dual enrollment. She'd be able to tell you better. She's been at 4 of us.
Yeah, so basically people have asked, how are the kids doing academically? What's going on? Zechariah, Hope, and and Faith Hannah have all graduated with their associate degrees. But how did that work out, Michelle?
Very well.
But how did
Well,
we make it happen?
um, I mean, it's different in every state, but here they can do high school at the same time as they're doing college classes. So when they start getting to the ages where they're doing well in algebra, they get through algebra 2 and start into the chemistries and the biologies. I didn't see any reason to continue at home. Let's just get them involved at the college level, and instead of taking a year to do the class, do it over the 6 months or do it over the semester.
Yeah.
Not 6 months, but semester. And
So Zechariah started when
if
he
it
was
works,
15.
it works. If it doesn't, you could say, hey,
We tried
let's
it.
go back home. We tried. Let's go home and work on it more. And the professors thought they would do terrible, and they were top of the class. And
I
then they
remember.
were asked. Then they started being asked, "Would you be a student instructor? And
Yeah.
would you help?"
I remember. I think
classes
Dr.
and
Bacher
students.
wouldn't care. He told Faith Hannah
Yeah.
when she was like 12.
Yeah.
She
Maybe
wanted.
it was him.
It was him.
It was
It was
Dr.
Dr. Becker, the biology professor. She's like, I want to take your biology for science majors class. And she's like 12 years old. And he says, you're going to fail. She's like, no, I'm not. And she ended up with a straight A, like 100 average in there. And he was like, okay, you didn't fail. Um,
But we just started doing the college classes at the local community college. I mean, they didn't. You don't have to do it at the community college, but they were getting several of my children have said they feel like they got a better education at the community college than they have at some of the university level stuff. Some of the professors teach at the universities and the local community college, so
Yeah.
you're getting the same course essentially because it's the same professor teaching. Not always, but sometimes. But anyway, I feel like they've gotten good. It's been a good decision. They graduate with their AA, and at that point, because they graduated high school with their AA, they're still considered freshmen, so they qualify for freshman scholarships, even though they've got 2 years under the belts.
that's true. So I've got a couple questions here. Somebody's asking, are we going to live stream on the radio today?
Now,
No.
We don't
This-
have it. So.
okay,
Why
so
not?
while he
We-
was in the hospital, because he was just out of the coma, but he had gone downhill during the weekend of Hamvention and went back into the ICU
Hamcation.
at
Amputation, yeah.
during that weekend, and was back to where they said we want him right outside of the operating room door. So they put his room was right
Yeah.
literally outside the operating room door. And anyway, I brought our home Go Box because Hope and I had not built that particular version, and somebody insisted on buying it, and we haven't had time to rebuild it.
3 years.
3 years later,
We've been
still
busy.
haven't had time to rebuild it.
We
So
have the radio
we
in a
have,
box
yes, we have
on
this-
the shelf.
Yes, I know. We
Yeah.
just haven't had time.
We've
I'm
been
hoping to get that time
so we moved in June.
unexpectedly. Yes.
Unexpectedly. So our lease, we had a long-term lease, and it came up, and landlord decided to raise the rent by a significant amount of money, like a lot of money. And we realized that we could move closer to Daytona Beach. Zechariah had been living in the dorms. That was what, about $9,000 or $10,000 a year just for the dorm. Then plus your food was up there. We figured out and discussed it as a family, and we decided that we would all move into a house in Daytona Beach. It's a much bigger house. It's probably close to twice as big. It's only 5 or 10 minutes from the schools, which we were some days driving an hour or more to get to school.
Oh, it was always an hour or more.
Yeah.
It was an hour each way.
So the children are helping with the rent, because we couldn't,
Instead of paying,
and
instead of paying for the
instead of
dorms.
going for the dorms, and they end up getting to be able to live at home. And thankfully, the ARRL made it so that they could use their part of their scholarships for living expenses, off-campus living expenses, which was a blessing. You know, there's several things that have kept us from being homeless. The first being God.
Yes.
The second being we were debt free, and still are, with the exception of all the money that is out there for the hospital.
Doctor bills.
Doctor bills, yeah. Um, yeah, doctor. I am like the $8 million man. Hope, please stop kicking me there. It hurts. Hope's playing with me by kicking the end of my stump. It's kind of painful. She likes to mess with Daddy. Um,
Started it.
yeah, I did. Uh, if we hadn't had people helping us, I mean, I work with a group called Arrow Bridge. It's a nonprofit that does disaster relief using donated aircraft, and and Mike from Arrow Bridge flew from New Orleans to Jacksonville and then drove to our house and brought you groceries.
I think you remember. That
You, yeah,
Did not somebody come to our house and
no. He visited me the next day at the hospital.
at the hospital? Okay,
You were in the operating room.
all right. So I wasn't awake.
Yeah.
I just finally found out who it was when we were in North Carolina after Hurricane uh, Helene. He was like, "Yeah, I was the guy."
Okay. I don't remember his name, but I was still all in shock. So
Yeah,
I remember him coming, and he blessed me. Something that unless you've been through all something like this, you don't think to do this. But he brought snacks and food and drinks for that lasted me days at the hospital and driving back and forth because it was a 2-hour drive
Each
to the
way.
hospital each way.
77.7 miles each way.
7.7 miles from our driveway to the hospital, to the parking garage at the hospital, and he blessed me by giving me a go bag basically with snacks,
And
water bottles,
yeah, and
peanuts.
Ramon.
Just Ramon.
Ramon is a lot of you guys would know Ramon.
There were several hams that I felt like I could call upon to meet me, drive us to the hospital that first day.
WW3A did that.
Yes,
Yeah,
WW3A did that, and Todd.
yeah. I think his call sign is
Todd
KN4TGU.
I forget his call sign.
Todd was there a lot.
Todd was there
I
a
remember.
lot. He helped with the. He kind of helped facilitate being the middleman in a way between me and the hospital. When we had a family meeting, I called on Todd, I called on Matt, I called on a few people if I had issues, and they were there for me.
Marion came down
Yes.
from South Carolina, from Clemson.
But Ramon worked at the hospital, and
he saw me coming out of the operating room, I think, didn't he?
he knew where you were before I didn't even get to tell him you were in the hospital, and he already knew it because he saw you. They saw you being wheeled in or something, wheeled around the hospital, and so whenever you were in surgery, he would find a way to take his break or take his lunch time at that particular time, and
Just come talk.
Yeah.
yes,
Um,
come talk.
KO4PDI Mike says, Michelle, you were a trooper keeping everybody updated on Facebook.
Really, it started trying to keep everybody in the well, just to tell people was important, but at a certain point it became that was the only way I could even tell my children what was going on because I was at the hospital so much.
We'd
And
be asleep before you came back,
yes, it would be midnight. They'd be
and then
gone
back
in the morning before or I would be gone before they got up, or
I remember you telling
we were
me
just
some
missing each
days
other.
like you don't even know how you got home.
I don't. I mean, talking
And
to
Grace and Dave Jordan
yeah,
kept you awake driving home.
and I would get in the driveway and say, I don't even remember driving. Or you'd be like, "Did I wash my hair?" And you'd feel your head and go, "It's wet. I must have." Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing prepares you for this.
So let's move on to some happy stuff again here. Hope, you've been
Around the world.
around the world into other worlds virtually. Right, the day it was like the last day to apply for something big. Hope tells me about it because Rachel, what's Rachel's call sign?
Um,
Rachel Jones.
yeah.
She's in Antarctica right now, so she's
Sorry,
probably not watching.
I should know it.
Anyway, Rachel told you about this opportunity, and it was never happened before, and we literally sat uh, across from the ARDC table at.
I found out about it when we were driving to Convention, but it was due that night. So we got to the hotel and we stayed up till about midnight writing. Um,
Well, part of the convention, you wrote your things.
okay, maybe it
Y'all
was the next
disappeared
day or
from the
something.
booth.
I don't know, but
So,
like,
what was it?
it was for the first high school
Say it slowly so people know.
crew to go to the Mars Desert Research Station, which is a research facility in Utah that simulates missions on Mars. So we wanted to go there, and you'd become an analog astronaut. You'd live in the habitat, and you'd perform research as if you lived on Mars. Spoiler alert: I did get in twice, and that's been a couple of years now. Like.
But
The last time I did that was last year, and then this year I went to a different analog research station.
you did something on Mars.
I did do something on Mars. So at the Mars Desert Research Station, my research the second time I went was to build and test a radio mesh network. So we used, we built a weather station and then set it up in the desert and just tested it out, see if it worked out some kinks, and came up with a proof of concept mesh network to be used on the surface of Mars.
But the first time you went, I'm trying to have to really dig and pull teeth. What did you take and what did you do?
Well, you gotta be specific.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I'm trying to communicate here. Speaking of communicate, there's some things that we do better than communicating. That is building boxes with which to communicate. So I built the first ham shack to go to Mars, and we took it there, and I got to activate it, and we left it there. And since then, other crews with hams have been able to activate it, including Rachel, who was the one who told me about the whole mission.
Yeah. So you got to do November Delta 2 Lima stroke MDRS, I think.
I don't remember what we used.
And then I think Rachel did her
Mars
calls.
analog.
Yeah, Rachel did
She
her
had
stroke
special calls.
MDRS. But then you did something last year in September
You did
down
that
in
2 years
Melbourne.
in a row.
No, I did
Yeah.
MDRS 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then last
yeah.
September, another thing, if Rachel ever hears this, thank you. Most of these were opportunities that she told me about, including
Slow down.
project called Project Possum, which is basically I took a class with them, and it was sort of the basic trainings that astronauts will have to go through. So you go on a zero-G flight, you learn about space physiology.
What kind of flight?
A zero-G flight.
Zero G, like
And high G,
like
if
you had something in your lap, it would float up in the air, kind of thing. Cool.
So we got to go do that. We also learned about space physiology. So we got to play around in a hyperbaric chamber where we used it to simulate hypoxia, like slow onset hypoxia, and just see how we react to it. So that was fun. And anyway, like through the class, I became good friends with my classmates, and then a bunch of us met up this year in October to do another analog mission, but this time way across the ocean in Poland. So we simulated a lunar mission, and it was at the Analog Astronaut Training Center in Poland. So,
Near Krakow.
yes. So we went there and we had all our research that will hopefully be published. So that should be fun. But yeah, we did all kinds of stuff. So every couple of hours you had to take biometric measurements. You had to do like cognitive tests like throughout the day and throughout the week so that you could see how things change. We were in isolation, so the difference between this one and MDRS was MDRS, you did a lot of EVAs for your research. This one,
Meaning
you
going
got-
outside. Yeah.
EVAs meaning put on a spacesuit. In this one, it was total isolation, never see the sun. In fact, during part of it, we had to have simulated like 3 or 4 days where we were in complete just darkness. So except for our research,
The
and
power was out.
yeah, power was out. Well, because on the moon, the way that it orbits is every now and then we're going to be behind the Earth, and so we're not going to have a ton of power because the solar won't be able to recharge. So
Correct.
while that happens, we need to see how people react to just being in complete darkness. So that was fun, a few stubbed toes. And we had botanical research, so I was the astrobiologist as well as the communications officer. So that meant I did both radios, report writing, a lot of reports, and then also made sure that the plants didn't die. They did not die.
So, but somebody did die on Mars.
Somebody.
Tell us about that.
The-
So when you do an EVA, you put on
Yeah, you when you
a spacesuit, right?
simulate an analog mission, you have to treat it as if you were really there. So if you go outside without a spacesuit, you're dead. If your equipment doesn't work, then you're dead. You run out of air, you run out of water, food, whatever. That's an issue. So if you go out on an EVA, you put on your spacesuit, you go out the airlock, and if your suit doesn't work, spoiler, mine did not, then you're dead. So we went on a hike, and there was no airflow in the helmet, so I kind of died because I had to take off the helmet. So in simulation, yes, I was the first kid to die on Mars.
But your crewmates,
Well, they also took off their helmets, so they died for me. That was kind of sweet.
they yeah, because if they had a rule like if you died more than 2 or 3 times, you didn't get to do any more EVAs or something.
No, if you
Oh,
died once, you
here's-
didn't get to do.
Here's hope when she's dead.
If you died once, I was the reason they had to make a rule because they didn't want me to just do nothing. Officially, if you die, at that day we had like the ethics and practicalities of what happens if someone dies on Mars versus in transit to and from Mars. So, introducing the concept of Among Us, if you know what that is.
What?
You're gonna space them.
Put them in
So if
space.
someone dies in transit, just in space, you eject them out the airlock. You eject your crewmate. But since we were on Mars, it was like, what do we do with the body? It's not going to decompose. Like, what do we do with it? Because it's kind of a waste to bring it back up with you and take it back to Earth because you could fill that with samples. That extra weight. So, officially, what we agreed upon is since I had died that day, I'm compost. So the rest of the day we spent in the greenhouse tending to the plants to go with the simulation.
And you were fertilizing
I
the
was,
plants.
yes, I was compost.
Got it. Here's another picture of
Compost.
there's Hope in her spacesuit. So that was every time they went outside, they had to do that. So Zechariah, tell us a little bit more about what does your drone club do?
It's a bit complicated. We don't just teach you how to fly. We also teach you like practicalities And those are the laws. So earlier you had asked what I did with the FAA. I didn't quite get a chance to get that far. Now the FAA requires you to register drones with them and have what's called a remote ID module. Most drones built into the requirement, but my drone does not. So you have to get an external remote ID module, install it on the drone, which I use a Velcro to do that, and then you register the drone with the serial number of the remote ID module you use. So we teach you how to do that, also how to follow all the laws, and Part 107 operations, where you fly a drone for money. So we simulate Part 107 operations, where certain clubs will ask us for aerial footage. So we'll go out to like a boating race and film the race. That's one we did a few years ago.
You went somewhere last summer,
Oh,
Maryland or
Club,
something,
yeah.
and what was that about?
Not related, but it's that's the other club, the robotics club. I'm on the SCOAS team, which is a drone, but it's not related to the other club. Student Unmanned Aerial Systems.
Hey, Marvin.
Yeah, so we did not participate in that competition because our drone crashed, and it was repairable, but not in time.
Crashed and burned.
No, it didn't burn.
I
It just
thought
crashed.
Zechariah came home from school, and he was like, "You won't believe what happened. It's like the battery blew up or something."
No,
It was you were,
entirely unrelated.
but that was a different time.
Entirely unrelated. Several years ago, before unrelated.
it still blew up.
I just remember Zechariah coming home all excited that
Yeah.
You want that to happen? No, but if it's gonna happen, if it's gonna break, at least be cool about it.
Yeah. Let's just say, whoever put together one drone did not do it properly. I'm not going to name any names for obvious reasons, but
It was you.
it wasn't me.
Okay.
But a drone was not put together properly.
by a student or somebody.
Its propeller hit the wing. Propeller was still attached though. It was the wing that came off, which sounds worse actually. But yeah, propeller hit the wing disintegrated, and of course it fell out of the sky.
So, Zechariah, you're not a real active on the band's amateur radio licensee, but how has amateur radio played a part in the drones and the remote ID and the education and all that?
One idea that I had a few years ago before we realized that it wasn't too practical was we were having issues with range for the Student Unmanned Aerial System team. We were having issues with range, so one idea we had was to increase the power, which you need a license to do, a HamRadio license. Well, increase the power of the transmitter. We realized that probably wasn't practical. I don't remember why exactly. Wait, I think we needed a larger antenna, which we weren't gonna. It wasn't really practical to lug it around the competition grounds, so we just threw that idea out. But eventually, I think we found that the issue wasn't as big as we thought it was because the allowed flying area was a lot smaller than we thought.
So, what I'm trying to get at, there may be people who are watching, who are kids who are interested, or parents. They're like, "Hey, I had to get my son or daughter involved in ham radio." And even though you're not a big contester or get on the air guy, it seems to me that amateur radio has actually helped you get ahead in life. How do you see any way that it may have helped you?
Maybe, but I don't know that it's as big as. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. I don't know.
Didn't teach you anything about electronics or
Did,
the
but
kits that you built?
Most of the stuff I'm using now, I learned from classes.
What about?
Almost all
I'll
the
feed
stuff
it to
I'm
you.
learning is amateur.
What about how you're paying for college?
Yeah.
The scholarships.
Get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like a lot of the stuff I'm using now is not directly related to ham radio.
It's all related to him.
Yeah, but not like the stuff that you would use in ham radio. It's like all the other stuff that's not.
It all came from ham radio. So, Grace, you're not really doing any clubs, but you're writing, and I know you don't want to do spoilers, but tell us about what you like to do. What's
Well, obviously there's rocks, but the main thing is just reading and writing. And so it's not necessarily spoilers, like, I don't mind that. It's the fact that early drafts of books, what I had 3 months ago when the semester started is not the same book anymore. So I can't say it because it'll be different by next week.
But your professors
like,
have
what do you
sent in
think?
your work to be published.
Oh yeah, I do have some shorter works that have already been published. Only in small magazines right now, but it is getting out there.
Yeah, but they've won competition.
Oh yeah, one of them won, I believe, second in state. I don't remember the name of the contest, but it had to do with magazine articles in Florida for short stories. I believe that one was second in state last fall, which was pretty high actually. I'm kind of not doing as many short stories lately though. I'm more doing long form works.
and you're writing on your phone?
It had been, the short stories are more on the phone because the books got too long. It's just, I might do drafts, like outlines for the story or notes about it on the phone, but it no longer loads on the phone. It's too long, so I had to move to computer, unfortunately.
There you go.
I have an original document still on my phone, and I would pull it up to show you, but I am concerned it'll crash this phone, and this is a new phone. It got to the point where I split it into a second document, and that one was also too big.
Well, there you go. And in Hope, we'll talk. You're doing something with like rockets that are blowing up or not blowing up, or
They weren't intended to blow up. Well, radio related. So I'm a member of 3 clubs. One of them is a rocketry club at school, and so we're currently building 2 rockets, and both of them we want to have live data coming off of. So we want to set up a beacon, and of course, if we're going to set up a beacon, why not make it an amateur radio beacon? Because a bunch of the club members are licensed. So when we launch in less than a month for the first rocket, and then a few more months down the line for the second rocket, we will hopefully be able to have a 70 centimeter beacon using LoRa modules, which I learned about at MDRS. So we're right now working on the antennas for both the ground station and the to hook up to the flight computer, and I'm also working on designing the flight computer. So it's almost done.
outstanding. So we're not on the air as much anymore because we're in another part of life right now.
Yeah, we don't have a
Um,
shack in this new house.
You get on in the car.
Yeah, we get on in the car.
When you've helped with emergencies.
Yeah,
In
I
North Carolina.
I
in Florida.
helped with the Aero Bridge. I deployed to the mountains of North Carolina and ran the airlift out of Statesville. I did a couple of POTA activations last week. Live streamed one of them on the No Limb Gym YouTube channel. So if you're not on there, go subscribe. Hope,
Casual play.
are you wanting to talk about any of your social media stuff, or is that still kind of private?
What social media?
You have something about space and
I have an Instagram page, that's it.
It doesn't have one at the moment.
The idea
It's
was.
like a personal page. There was gonna be a blog, but there's an issue of a password.
Yeah, Dad's got to get her
For
the
like a year
password.
straight.
Dad gave her the password and she lost
He
it.
did not give me the password. He gave me a botched password program that supposedly had it, but it didn't work, so how do I know?
Yeah. So,
The idea was to log her expeditions and
There's
I
a-
mean, we still can. If you give me the password
so
tonight,
that one
I
day
can
when
try.
she's an astronaut and at Mars, we can read how she got there. what she
Oh,
went through to get there.
that jogged my memory. You spoke at the Eris convention about your desire to be the first person to do something, and a NASA administrator picked up on it. What was that all about?
Um, so for those who haven't heard, the ISS is not going to be around for much longer, and so there's going to be private stations. There's going to be more stuff, but ultimately we want to have a station on the moon. What better opportunity to have a much longer conversation with schools than to have an Eris station, except not Eris, it would be
Maris.
Lunar or something. Anyway, an amateur radio station on the moon versus on the ISS. So hopefully one day we can set that up. They seem to like the idea, and they may have already been thinking of it. So
Yeah, I just remember you were like, I'd like to be the first person. And the next day they're having a round table with a couple of the NASA administrators. They're like, you know what Hope said yesterday is actually a good idea.
they may have already been thinking of it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But anyway, the point being that may very well be like on the way to happening. I don't know if I'm gonna do it, but like someone will.
Yeah. Any other things to update, Michelle? You got any other?
I guess I want to just say thank you to all the people that have prayed, who have
Yes.
reached out, who have blessed us in various ways, because there's far too many to name, but there were a few that I'm not sure what to say, that were there in pretty special ways that I had mentioned.
Above and beyond.
Above and beyond type things. They were there. Unexpected people in a way that were there.
Yeah.
Unexpected people that were nowhere to be seen.
And that
Which
was
was
sad.
very surprising to me.
People that were really close friends that haven't spoken to us since.
Correct.
And people that we had not long before visited in the hospital when they were in the hospital.
Correct.
So,
So you never know.
you don't, your life can change in an instant. Michelle tells people that
Yes.
all the time. It can. I walked into the hospital. I'd been to medical school, and they're like, "Hey, you want to walk in?" Took a picture of myself and posted it to Facebook, and woke up 2 months later. Life can change in an instant. So, with that, guys, we hope that we can do cool stuff and get back on the air. But as you can see, they're still pretty kids, but they're not the cute little kids who were the HamRadio.World
I'm not
people.
much taller.
They're not kids.
Yeah, you're a kid. Yeah, Hope's actually an adult now.
Last of Us.
So actually, Grace and I have some videos that we made from our trip out to Phoenix in California right before I died that I've never edited and posted. So we went out to the what is it, Malheur Dinosaur Track site, Warner.
I've never even heard of Malheur.
That was another place. You didn't go.
They went out to a bunch of dinosaur places and activated them.
Went to the
Came out
Grand
with a bunch of
Canyon.
rocks.
We didn't post those. I know we posted some.
We have not posted. I've never edited them.
They came home with a bunch of rocks.
Oh
a
yeah, I
carload
still
of
haven't
rocks.
sorted through them because we got busy. Maybe.
Do you have your rocks here? Or
Like
are you
4
on the?
buckets of rocks.
No.
That's one of
There's
like
a
100.
rock.
And what
This
is?
is not my coolest rock. I don't know what this is.
That's from Bay of Funding.
I can only assume basalt, but don't count me on that. I have no idea.
Yeah,
Bay of Fundy's a pretty unique place.
It is.
Found a lot of good rocks there.
and we
Yeah,
watched
it's
the water
supposed to
come
be
back in.
better.
Yes.
Yeah. So I will ask you guys, even if you're unable to donate, would you please go into the description and copy the link for the GoFundMe and share it on your Facebook and share it with your people. Let them know our story, that we're legit, and we're still looking at expenses. We got a letter from Medicare saying you can be potentially billed $11,600. We don't know if we're going to get billed or not. There's copays with Medicare. It costs money to be on Medicare. I thought that when they gave me Medicare, I was going to be like, hey, you're set. But they
No,
don't cover.
we're still learning.
Yeah.
There's so much
They don't
that
cover dental. I
they
haven't.
haven't even been able to research. You just have to take what they say because
Yeah.
you can't. There's no time to research. There's no time to do anything.
Yeah. So there's still
We're so busy.
great needs financially and just help every now and then and
Prayers.
and the
Prayers.
business is starting
Perfect.
to take up the prayers. You can feel the prayers that people pray.
I
So
would not have been able to continue to even stand if people hadn't prayed at the beginning, and I know they were.
correct. I'm gonna
I know they were.
come out here so we can see everybody here. Oops.
He's learning his fancy new
There we
gimbal.
go. Well,
It's not new.
not
His
new.
fancy
It's
old gimbal that he hasn't learned yet.
now. Can we see everybody?
He's not holding it with his fancy hand.
No, I didn't have the hand on. So
Yeah, in this house, if you ask for a hand, he just pops it off and leaves.
yeah, I got through vocational rehab. I did get a bionic hand. You know what? I'll make a video and post it on here about that because that was really cool. I did get 2 prosthetic legs in October, and I stood up for the first time 2 weeks ago, and have been learning how to stand up. Started today.
That's
Trying.
huge.
Yes, it is huge. Trying to do some weight shifting and weight bearing, and realized that I kind of remember they were talking about doing a knee replacement on my right knee before this surgery. Hopefully, I don't have to
realize
have
this
that.
is something that we found out is you don't realize that your brain forgets how to do things. You don't
Correct.
realize that when you come off the trach, come off respirators and all that, you forget how to breathe. You forget how to swallow. We had to tell you constantly how to breathe. You
Yeah.
had to go through weeks worth. I think it might have even been months worth. I can't remember right offhand. Of training, so you would swallow so that you didn't suffocate swallowing.
Yeah.
And it's been 3 years since you have stood. It's been longer since you've walked.
Almost 3 years.
It was a big day when he got Slurpee privileges.
Right, it was huge.
Oh, it
day
was. Yeah.
when he was
I don't
able
think you
to
remember
drink.
that. Like that, they literally had a celebration.
We did. But you lost all of your muscles, and
I did.
you're developing them again. They're working hard on developing them. So the fact that you stood the other day, you even told the physical therapist, I don't think my brain remembers how to walk.
I don't remember how to walk. I really.
So you really don't think about that.
Yeah.
As a person who can walk, as a person who can swallow and can do things.
I don't even know how to stand up. Mitch today was like, look, you got to be leaning out, get your nose out over your toes. And I'm like, what? And then when it finally happened and I didn't fall out and hit my face, even though I did fall, but I got caught by the rope.
Harness.
Trying to realize it's like a 5'10" baby who doesn't know how to walk, and you're falling and you're stumbling, and you've got 57-year-old knees that have jumped out of helicopters and done snow skiing and stupid stuff like that. So
Your knees are like
In your youth.
yeah, not in my youth anymore. But guys, I think we need to see about getting inside and being a family again.
We're still family.
Thank you.
Grace took her last exam today, and the other two have already been done with their exams.
Yep.
A couple of days, so.
Yeah.
So
I'm tired. Mine was early in the
thank
morning.
you for watching, guys. Please do share the GoFundMe link if you're able to help out financially. That's great, but you don't need to. But please do share it and tell people that it's legit. We appreciate it.
We have
So-
redesigned the go boxes.
Yeah, our go boxes
so
are
things
totally.
should be getting out quicker than they were.
Yeah.
The patience of the customers have been awesome.
Yeah. The go boxes have been completely redesigned, and that's thanks to my best friend from high school, Matt, who is an aeronautical engineer who has donated
Hours,
hours,
hours, and
probably
hours.
hundreds of hours, to help us design shelves and brackets in ways that we can streamline our work, make it a better product, um, and get it done quicker.
And that's
Um,
huge.
yeah,
The hours it took for the children and I to drill because you can't do it anymore, and it takes you so much longer,
and the fact that
which meant we had to do it.
this faces west,
What,
and the drill is
garage?
the garage
Yeah.
faces west, and the drill press is in the garage. And in the summertime, it gets like 120, 130 in
Oh
there.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
And it's a tiny cramped space with metal shavings, so.
yeah. The go boxes are a lot cooler. If you're gonna be at Hamcation, come see us. I'm fairly certain we're gonna go to Hamvention as well. Um, uh, Faith Hannah and I may go to Houston Ham Fest to kill two birds with one stone. That was actually Faith Hannah's cousin Spencer just defended his dissertation for his doctorate yesterday, and he's going to be doing his postdoc work at Baylor. And Faith Hannah may want to go there and get a doctorate degree. So
We have another
Spoilers,
doctor
we
in
don't
the
know that
family.
yet. Yeah, we don't know how things are gonna work out yet. But
we don't, but Faith Hannah told me I could share stuff.
oh,
So
okay.
I talked to her
But
about
like,
it.
share stuff about her graduation, or share stuff about spoilers for future.
She doesn't know what her future is, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, no. I mean, she's anyway. They're going to need to be chastised later. Anyway, have a great Christmas and New Year, Andy. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Bless all of you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and just the fact that we've had on average about 15 people watching this entire hour-long show will help with getting the channel back to where YouTube thinks it's a decent channel again.
We were gonna come up with Christmas songs every year, but then you had
Yeah,
COVID
we
that
were
next
gonna.
year,
Yeah, we
and
did the Ham Radio Days of
Go
Christmas.
back, add it to your YouTube Christmas song playlist. That is in order. Thank you.
Yes, go into our playlist and do our YouTube Christmas song. That one, I mean,
Was it 12 Days of what was
Ham
it?
radio.
Ham
12
Radio?
is-
And
yeah.
a whole long list of things.
Yeah.
yeah, I forget all the things we had
We
on
were
there.
not the best singers.
Was
but-
it like 5 Bayo things?
No, not at
I
all.
forget what it was, but we had a lot of ideas we were gonna do, but then the Como, I think, was the following year.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, and you know, this, some of you guys, well, I'll go back. This came on suddenly the next morning after field day in 2021. We did field day. I was the emergency coordinator for Volusia County in Florida, and it was a great field day. I didn't feel great. I woke up at like 4 o'clock the next morning, and thank you very much, Andy. I didn't even know you could do that. Appreciate it. Um, I woke up the next morning at, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, not able to breathe, and I put a pulse oximeter on my thumb, and my saturations were down near the low 70s, high 60s, and that's not a good place to be. And it turned out my mitral valve ruptured suddenly, idiopathically, which means they don't know why, and that led to everything that led to the surgery on December 8th. And it's been a long road of recovery. We got a whole lot more recovery to do, but we're here. So, anything else, everybody?
We need to say 73 before we leave.
Yes, we need to say 73. So, I hope you have on the truck and
Oh, I thought you did.
watching, and we can talk.
Oh.
These Christmas lights, I'll let the girls show you. They can be powered by our Shack in a Box Solaris solar generators. And I'm gonna let Hope talk.
Mostly because I stole the camera. Except I don't know how to use it.
She didn't know how to use your camera.
That's okay. I'll move it. Ta-da!
I'm gonna go in here for scale.
We use an antenna mast on the back hitch and a PVC pipe, and then we strung it up. The star is made out of some copper wire that we twisted, and it is powered on the inside by our solar generator.
Yeah, we just stuck
It lasts forever.
We just stuck our cord.
It's a mast, isn't it? One of our
Yeah,
masts?
yeah, it's a
Maxfield
antenna mast.
Systems mast, 25-foot mast that we purposed
Hmm.
for a Christmas tree, and it's the TN07 hitch mount.
Yeah, and this part is just PVC, just like a pipe.
PVC, yep.
Like,
You had it.
Pipe with duct tape on it, make it dark.
but I can drive down the highway with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've had no
Fancy.
problems.
Yeah. We have no problems. It just kind of wiggles a little bit.
So this is her car, her fancy car, and that's his car. Look at that. He needs to up his game.
Yep.
Mine
I
looks
was
like
gonna-
it's got
Usually
glee in
does.
its teeth.
Yesterday.
We just haven't had time to decorate any more than this.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
previous years we strung like lights in all the windows of this white car too. We did the whole car. We did the grill, we did the windows, we did the back.
Yeah,
We
this
did
was
the top.
enough this year.
The year that he had the surgery, it was like February before we got stuff off the cars.
Yeah, and I think
That's because we
it's
taped
still-
it. It was really hard to get off.
Yeah,
And
word of
Zachariah's
advice,
got
don't
his-
tape it to the car. You won't get it off.
Yeah, don't use Gorilla Tape to tape things to your window.
This is his obligatory.
Back to, we used to do grand illuminations on the HamRadio.World YouTube channel when you guys were younger. We would all stand outside and sing a Christmas song and turn lights on for HamRadio.World live.
Okay, go turn off the lights, Zachariah.
Well, that's not. They're all on separate circuits.
Unplug one of them here.
No.
No, we don't need to subject them to any more singing. That was only cute when we were little.
Just unplug one.
You know, yesterday Hope did the other day Hope and Faith Hannah did the tease that you guys may have seen too short, and she's like, I hear myself. That used to be when I was little, it was okay, but now it's like I sound so something. I forget what you said.
Well, because, like, if you use the radio and you hear a recording of yourself on the opposite end of the radio, you can just say, and it's just the SSB, like maybe it was off frequency or whatever. But, like, phones these days, if he takes a video of us and starts editing it without headphones, it's really annoying. Because you know that's your actual voice.
That's what everybody else hears.
That I know, I feel bad for you guys.
It's normal.
Yeah. So it's
Start up here.
yeah, we can go back in here where
Mhm.
Are we finished up?
So how many people we got watching Hope?
13.
So ask, are there any questions? We can kind of
Well, if you're gonna do that, then go
go
up there
back
where
in
it's
here
light.
and we can do an interactive and do questions. We didn't really do that.
Grace, they like your lights.
Oh, which ones?
I don't
They're
know.
all of our lights.
Yeah, but you did most of the work.
I
Where's
didn't have
everyone
to have
going?
the game setting.
All right. Well, they all left. You two are on camera.
No, I'm
Oh,
bringing,
wait, what?
I'm bringing the mosquito repeller.
Okay.
Here.
Started with that.
I should
Okay.
have, 'cause we've been getting eaten by mosquitoes, like right before Christmas. Are we getting any questions at all?
No,
Oh, there was one comment. I couldn't read it.
it was just saying nice lights and
Are you
things like that.
pointing at me or what?
Yeah.
So as you guys can see, I'm a little bit shorter than I used to be. Fingers are gone.
He can no longer count to 10.
I can't count the
He
10.
can count to like 3.5.
And if I get road rage, I can only whisper. So, because the fingers are so short.
Ow.
Don't do that.
Wow, I'm just happy to be alive, for one thing. And I'm happy that I still have my family and that they're not having to, like, take care of me. So, ask questions, guys. I know there's somebody who wants to ask a question. Or we're going to say
73. I can draw that out
Oh,
so
boy.
much.
So, anything else anybody wants to share to show people watching? So,
I was just
There's-
gonna say that we moved in took the whole month of May to move in, and we are still living out of boxes. We are that
I'm seeing both of you, but you're really far apart.
we are that busy. We are still living out of boxes.
I think Zechariah wants to go do super cool computer geek stuff
Math.
that we wouldn't understand.
He's not in classes right now.
He didn't deny it.
Do you still have classes?
No.
No, she's done
Today's
today.
your last
Last
day.
day today.
Mhm.
So when I say super cool
Congratulations.
computer geek stuff, what are you working on right now? I know you've been working on stuff in your you're building something in your room.
Yeah. I built a flight simulator and 3D printed a glass cockpit stand.
Ooh, you also 3D printed something else. You should bring that out and show it.
That's gonna take a lot of time. No.
The whole thing
Oh, not the whole
very
It
He's,
takes like half an hour.
he suggested he might enjoy 3D printing.
You
He is.
far.
He is, yes, he's,
we are using the 3D printer for the business,
yes.
and right after
We're using our 3D printer.
Yeah,
for
but
business. Yes.
right after I got out of the hospital, I think we got our first 3D printer, or maybe before.
was right
we were
before.
in the hospital, because we were making brackets and stuff that we were using, and we had thought that Zechariah would be the one who would be really getting into it. And
We
he
never,
didn't for a
yeah,
long
we
time.
never could. You got one right before your surgery, and we didn't even get it up and running. We never have figured out how to do that.
Real quick, Zachariah, someone was asking what you mean by 3D printed glass.
What?
What do you mean
Oh,
by
you
3D
caught it like
printed
a
glass?
Yeah, it was your glass cockpit.
say-
Explain what that is for the non-aircraft folks.
So a glass cockpit is a form of aircraft instrumentation that uses computer screens instead of analog dials.
So it's not actually glass. It's still
No, I don't
plastic.
think.
Alright.
I think it's like a tempered glass or something usually.
But you're not printing glass.
No, not 3D printing glass.
No, but the rest of the cockpit.
Plastic. The screens themselves, you can get off of Amazon for pretty cheap. They're like Raspberry Pi screens, with HDMI. So I'm using them as extra monitors. They're coded as extra monitors on my computer, and then I move the windows with the glass cockpits for a flight simulator to those extra monitors.
So you're doing this, and it seems to maybe a parent or a grandparent or somebody, wow, you're wasting all your time doing this. But what are you learning from doing all of this?
Engineering, of course. Yeah, I designed the whole thing myself. There were a few issues that I ran into with my first prototype. I'm using two screens for the glass cockpit. One of them is a 10-inch, the other is a 7-inch. I learned 7-inch is a bit too small. It's hard to push the buttons on the screen because my fingers are a bit too big. 10-inch works pretty well though, so for my second one I might just make them both 10-inch, but probably won't be doing that for a while because I've barely had time to use the first one. Yeah, learning curve, I guess.
So what are you holding in your hand?
Yeah, this was another project of mine.
Years of engineering.
Yeah, this is fully 3D printed, with the exception of the visor. This is this visor is a knockoff welding mask that would make a welder go.
Let's bring you about to get wet.
Sprinkler. I want to get out of the way.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
It's like next door.
This next door.
Or on the other side.
So we actually now may be able to see the ground fault interrupt keeps shutting off our Christmas lights, and I'm thinking it's the sprinkler system's hitting something that.
If it is the sprinklers, I'm gonna need to move my car. My car's over one of them.
Oh.
Oh. Well,
Yeah, you'll be fine. Keep talking about this, and then someone else had a question. Either finish or we're changing subjects.
Yeah. So this is, I think this was like 7 parts, not including this. So I think with that it's 11 parts. And the rest of the suit, I'm not even I lost count how many parts it was. But yeah, it's got some fans in here because I realized this thing gets really hot.
We're in Florida.
Yeah.
He also has a speaker attached to it, so
Believe
you
it or
can.
not, even though this thing is tinted, I can still see everything.
So for any of you Star Wars fans out there, also note that Star Wars does use amateur radio.
Oh yeah.
Because someone was asking what we do in the amateur radio side of things. I think they weren't here for the first
Actually,
part of the
That
stream.
brings up something. There's this like Disney-owned shopping center called Disney Springs. They have 2 Star Wars themed stores there, and my sister, Hannah, I keep forgetting these people know us. But
Yeah.
Hannah took me there for my birthday while they were in Canada, and I saw on the shelf they have a bunch of props to kind of immerse yourself, make you feel like you're in a store that would be in the Star Wars universe. And some of the stuff they have on there is one thing I noticed is a literal Heathkit oscilloscope. They didn't even bother scratching off the Heathkit logo.
Yeah. I think
Disney engineers.
Hope and I we were given the opportunity to go to the APCO convention, which is sort of like the 911 operators convention. We got to show our Shack in a Box stuff and got to show a go box that I made that would do air traffic control. And we went to, as part of it, we got to go for a night to Universal Studios. And I think it was the Men in Black ride. A lot of the props in that movie were just like amateur radio handhelds or stuff that weren't even changed.
They just had Yaesu
Because
handhelds.
this hobby is a cool space age science and like I don't know, alien technology thing.
Mhm.
This is an epic hobby to be in.
I'm gonna say, you bring that up, I'm gonna say, as a homeschooling family, homeschooling mom, ham radio covers absolutely every subject in school. So, if you have a child involved in ham radio, it covers every subject in school in multiple ways.
You know, parks on the air for outdoors. You have national parks and you have historic site activations, electronics, history, everything.
You do. You have the math. You have foreign language. So if your child is wanting to learn some foreign language, to be able to speak to somebody in another country and test the waters with their own skills in that language, the people love it. To get letters from the people in these foreign countries, a lot of times they will send little trinkets, little postcards, coins sometimes, for the children to see what's going on, just to get exposed to that country. Geography, our children learned far more geography than they could learn in a classroom. And to be speaking to the people in those various countries. I mean, Faith Anna's first country that she spoke to on HF was Mayotte. And I said, my what? And she says, how do you spell Mayotte? And I said, I don't even know what you're saying. It took me a while to figure out what she was saying. I said, let's Google it. It'll fill in the rest. Let's spell it how we think it'll be spelled. And sure enough, it did. And she says, can I go learn the language? Can I go study it? So it motivates them to learn more.
Yeah.
Anyway, covers every subject in school.
It does. Any other questions?
Zechariah
There was
brought out
one.
all the model paints from
Yeah.
every
Mm-hmm.
hobby store in
Actually,
town.
I just discovered a new one today. Had I known about it, I would have cleared out that one too. But yeah, because of the hurricane, I couldn't spray paint this. Bit too humid for that. So I instead used some brush model paint.
A lot of
Yeah.
Yeah,
Took
went to a
several
model
weeks.
store today after my exam, and I sent him a photo of, they had like 4 of the paint he had been
They've
using. I said,
recovered.
they're recovering, nature's healing, and he said, not for long.
He's got another
One
project.
thing I did notice, there was a costume contest at Embry Riddle. That's what this was for. And one thing I noticed, in addition to that it got hot, which is why I later installed fans. I did not have this on day one. But another thing I noticed, the leg pieces I printed a little bit too big, so the knees kept falling off. I had to tape them on.
My legs fell off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Maybe I could print you some Star Wars legs.
Bruce like Darth Vader.
Yeah, you
Robotic
look
hands, no legs.
Hey, Grace, can you run in and grab my...
I have no idea where
Where's
it
the
is.
crack? Can you grab my hand? It's by the... It's on the floor by the desk. I'll show the hand to you so people watching.
You have 8 people.
8 people.
Yeah, we gained one from
We
earlier.
got Michael Randazzo.
It's gotten too long.
How do you see who's here? Yeah,
It's gotten too long.
he's speaking Japanese.
Hope, you said there was a question in the comments earlier. What was it?
Just what are we doing, like, in the amateur radio side of things? Because we're more talking about random other
Building.
things.
Yeah, we're
Go
building go boxes in the amateur radio side of things. Going to Hamfest to support Shack in a Box.
Well, but it's more like the buildings that we've been doing lately are more for like emergency.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of business from
The hurricane.
agencies. We came up with, we call it a grab and go box in a nano case, which is a clamshell case. It's got an ID 5100A and a 15 amp battery, lithium iron phosphate battery, a cooling system, and we showed it at Orlando. I posted about it in Facebook, and then all of a sudden the state of New Mexico bought a lot of them, and now other states are interested in it. Our HF go boxes are getting to be, the ham community still is getting go boxes, but the government people, it's in the black case that's on the floor next to my desk where I sit with my computer.
They're looking for his hand. We used to joke that if it wasn't attached to him, he would lose
I lose
that
the
kind of
hand.
thing. And guess what?
Yeah. I know
We were
exactly
right.
where it is.
We've also done Yoda this last summer, so Youngsters on the Air up in Canada.
So you had an event
That
with
was
amateur
my
radio.
first Yoda and my first time out of the U.S., which was really cool. Met a lot of hams and met up with some old friends, hams. So we had a good time. Hope was a
I got
like,
to tag
leader.
along. Yeah.
It was the second time at a Yoda camp, so she was more helping to run it in a way. I'm not sure what your official title was.
I was just
but
a group leader.
It was my first time at
Mhm.
Yoda camp. I would recommend it. It was very
And
And
what
you were
did you
kinda-
get to
you had
do?
some
You
trepidation
had
about
you had a fancy role.
I had what?
You had a fancy
What
role,
was my role?
Aries.
Yes, look right.
Oh, right.
The batteries
I,
right here. Look right. I
several
also
of us
need
got
the,
to ask questions
the hand
to
finger.
an astronaut. I don't know which one. I'm not sure they told us.
I think it was
Someone on
Janet
the
Epps, but yeah.
ISS, and I was one of the ones. I believe I got to ask both of my questions, which was
Mhm.
very cool. I think they have a live stream somewhere.
Yeah, they
If you
do.
want to see it. Yeah, we did that like day 2 or 3 of the whole week of Yoda.
You guys activated.
We all, I believe, got to ask at least one of our questions. We kind of lost them. It went longer than I at least had thought it would. I thought we'd get through like one question each, but we almost got every single question in. We probably got 20 something
Can you
questions
can
in.
you
I don't know.
explain why there's a time constraint?
Well, they want to get everyone in, like just so everyone can ask their question, but it's in orbit, so eventually it'll be under the horizon. You can't talk to it anymore.
Mhm.
And it kind of works like a satellite, except it's more official, because you gotta
It
deal
is
with
technically a
Eris.
satellite, but yeah.
You gotta deal with Eris and the astronauts, so it's a little bit different than just hopping onto a satellite. But it's also a lot cooler, so if you get a chance to get like SSTV from an astronaut or happen to catch them, I would recommend it. It's a lot of fun and very cool.
I got SSTV a couple weeks ago from him.
Oh, Hope said she
Mhm.
got some photos from them. I don't know how often they're sending them out anymore, but
I think it's
They
like
make
once every 3 months
announcements.
or
So if you
Yeah,
are
keep an eye out.
interested, I just used a handheld. I used the Yagis, but I wanted to prove to some of the club members at school that you could just do it. So we received several, and then if you're interested in doing any of those types of things, just hop on. It's not hard.
he's got something to show off.
Yes.
Can you see it on the camera?
This is a $100,000 hand. And I run it with my brain.
Not quite. That sounds telekinetic. It's not quite that.
No.
We're not quite to Star Wars.
So
but-
he'll run it by like
If
doing
I
his
want to open
different
it,
movements with his hands.
I open that joint on the other hand, and there's an electrode that picks up right here against the ground that's over here. And then if I want to close it, I do that joint. So I can open and close it. It allows me to hold cylindrical objects real well. I can't hold my iPhone.
So he
Actually, here.
holds the thing we're live streaming with. It's a little handheld thing. He uses that on some live streams.
Steadier video than I can get if you're noticing it shaky.
No, it was shaky earlier
Because you didn't have the hand.
So I'm opening this bottle of water using the hand now.
It's kind of spilling a little.
It is spilling because this is a small smart water bottle that they're now starting to use less plastic like everybody else. When you have no hands or no fingers, it's really hard
It
to
squishes
use,
a little
to
bit
use a bottle.
too much.
Yeah, the thin bottles are hard.
You don't realize that. The
But-
thin bottles and the small caps are really difficult for him.
Anyway, so we got Luke Skywalker over here drinking half the water on Tatooine.
Yeah,
Very much.
I'm Fremen.
That's a different franchise.
That's the wrong franchise. But yeah, there weren't really any other questions.
Any questions? Throw them in chat.
What's it?
See you next Tuesday, George.
By the way,
What are we
this-
doing next Tuesday?
This is what one
Are
of
we
these
redoing
looks
it?
like without paint or filler. You can still see where all the seams were.
No, you can't.
Oh, yeah.
In person, you can. Oh no, we could kind of see it. Yeah.
This thing is a bit too big to print on any normal printer, so you have to print it in multiple parts, and I have to
You
glue
can
them
see
together.
all the lines.
So before I paint it, I fill it with spackle and sand it down.
It's good practice with using your engineering degree to design things
Yes,
from
I
start to
would say
finish.
There's been people who
Do it
have
with a mask next time.
Oh,
Yeah.
you gotta cough because he sanded
I
without a
also
mask.
switched to more friendly, I guess, more
So-
lung-friendly version.
So,
So I posted a picture on Facebook of Zechariah in his costume, and there were some people who were not so nice, saying, you know, spending money on that. First of all, Zechariah has scholarships for school, and this is part of school. And secondly, you're learning skills for your life.
Yep.
It's not just doing something because I want to do it. And like you building your flight simulator, those are skills. That's the kind of work you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, is actually building real glass cockpits.
Well, they don't teach how to do CAD, or how to do more of the manual labor. You focus on more computer design, computer aspects, and this is a way to get more experience, open up more job
This is
opportunities.
stuff they don't really teach in class.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of had to figure a lot of this out on my own.
If you ever open up Tinkercad, many of us will find we're lucky if we can get a square.
That's me. I tried.
So the fact that he can make all these shapes is means there's a lot of practice involved.
it took a long time. Yep.
If you like airplanes, we're on the final approach for one of the runways. I forget which one.
Yeah, it's been making some noise.
I don't
Having to live right under riddle students trying to land,
You live right under real estate triangle.
I know those kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that why
He
you
doesn't
run every
trust
time
them?
you hear a plane?
What?
Is that why you run every time you hear a plane?
What are you talking?
He's kidding.
They taught us in medical school. I went to medical school when I was 40. That after 4 years of medical school, you end up with two lists. One of them is 70 diseases that you never want to get, and the other one is 70 doctors that you never want to have touch you. All your classmates.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoping we would have questions.
We've covered a lot.
We have covered a lot.
Yeah. So I'm hungry. So sorry Faitana wasn't here. She's out doing Faitana stuff.
Yeah, she's been busy. She had work today and then stuff afterwards.
Oh, she's going.
I think she's.
She's doing like a.
She's a
work
lab
trip somewhere.
manager right now.
Yeah, she's she is running. She's a lab manager for the science labs at Daytona State and DeLand.
In DeLand, something in Deltona too.
Deltona, and I think she's gonna next semester be one other place. So, kind of using her degree, not really, but
It's a way to get work experience so that she can get into grad school later on and
yeah.
Yeah.
do whatever
out
she
what
ends
she
up
wants to
deciding.
do.
Yeah, she doesn't know what she wants to do yet, but I think she likes it. So
This path was highly recommended by people she knows.
And plus, she's making money.
She is.
She's saving money, which is cool.
But she's trying to figure out her exact path she wants to go. They recommended getting in the lab and living it for a while to see what you want to do.
He's showing off.
I am showing off because it's cool. So I figured out this is essentially an ESP32 microcontroller with some electrodes and some stepper motors, and probably $1,000 worth of parts, and they sell it for $100,000. We're in the wrong business.
It's more than that though, because
It's
they custom make it for each of the
custom,
people.
yes,
It's an army of people
it is.
at this facility, and they have all these occupational therapists and rehab people and
It was
the
an army of
designers and the
people.
engineers and all. They're
and
all working
they
with
were-
each of the
You
patients.
show up on Monday, they have your cast, they have the original, let's test and see where we can put electrodes. They give you lunch. After lunch, you now got that first trial cast or trial hand that they made. And you don't have the fingers yet, but they're teaching you how to isolate the signals from your different muscle groups. So like only being able to do this without doing this at the same time, because if I do both at the same time, the hand just kind of like it doesn't know what to do.
You haven't really talked about, so when you hold like these bottles, you have to do what's counterintuitive to do. You have to relax your muscles,
Correct.
where the average person, for me to hold this bottle, I've got to engage my muscles to hold it.
Correct.
You have to relax it.
So
You cannot engage your
so
muscles.
once I have it grabbed, I can hold it. But if I can you see that at all?
yeah,
So if I intuitively I want to grab more, I end up squeezing the bottle. And if it's a Aquafina bottle or one of the cheap bottles,
kaboom.
It gets crushed and leaks
Yeah.
all over.
and this is something somebody in North Carolina was like, what makes smart water so smart? I don't have hands. And the large bottles of smart water are the most rigid bottle of water you can buy. Why don't you just put it in a cup?
I think you can.
If I have a cup,
Sorry.
I have to drink with two hands. I can't do anything else. So if I'm driving in a car and I'm thirsty, I can't use a cup.
And a lot of the thermos ones are like
Well, you
heavy.
can't drive with this anyway.
No, I can't drive with the hand. You're not allowed to drive with
And
it.
you can't drink and all that. You can't hold food and all that while you're driving
No,
anymore.
I mean, if I'm going down the highway with the cruise control on and it's clear, and usually what I'll do is I'll leave the lid off the bottle, and that way I can drive with my left hand, pick the bottle with my right hand, take a swig. So it's not like you can go down the road eating a cheeseburger
like you used,
Used to be
you know,
able to
like
do.
you used to be able to do, drink,
Yeah.
drink a soda out of a straw or whatever.
So,
Can't do that.
Yep.
You done?
you done, Hope?
Any questions in the chat?
I was trying to show you, Grace, and you just
I'm
laughed.
trying to look if there's chat, and I'm like, why are you panning to me? I can't see anything.
There's no
Someone
news
says
better.
they're a new ham. We are old hams, but we are not old.
Welcome to the hobby.
Well,
What,
some
is
of
that
us.
That says you're a new ham?
Yeah, someone says they're new ham.
Welcome to
Oh,
Ham Radio.
okay. Well, congratulations on getting your ham radio license.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Congratulations. Now, get active.
Yes, get active. Get on the air if you're a kid.
Try HF if you haven't. It's
Right.
better.
If
If
you
you're
are,
only a tech, get to general.
General's where you can have a lot of fun. And then you got like HF, and you don't do the more extreme stuff the extras can, but you can do the more fun stuff.
Yeah, well, you as a tech, I don't know what license level they have, but as a tech, you can still do the satellites.
as an
those
actor,
are
you can be a control
objectively
operator
fun.
with satellite.
Yeah, satellites are good. I prefer HF. Try everything, see what you like. Get with
Yeah.
a club or someone you know, see what you like.
Yep.
POTA is a lot of fun.
But you're so close in a lot of ways with the general, especially if you're a new technician. A lot of the questions are the same.
Yeah, they are very
Do
similar.
it before they
not too
change
bad.
everything.
Yeah, they
change the
do
question
change
codes every few
questions.
years.
Okay, so someone's asking, is amateur radio and CB different? There's a key difference. Besides needing a license for ours, we're better than CBers. Let's just get that out of the way. But here's why. We have to go through a lot of trainings, not just to learn the laws and to get our license, but also we have to understand more about radio. So, and then we also, from that, we're able to build our own equipment, modify our radios, and we have more capabilities because of that.
So,
Go ahead. You always say. Go ahead.
What do I say?
You always say that it's like CB on steroids.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
TV on steroids.
You can talk all over the world instead of just a few miles.
Yeah,
You can
amateur
build your
radio
own stuff.
It's not as much today as it was when I got my license 43 years ago, but it still is. Innovation in all of forms of electronics came out of amateur radio, because the amateur radio license, by taking that test, by learning that material, it's kind of a de facto certification that you know what you're doing to like build your own gear and to test it and to make it work. And that's where a lot of people memorize the questions. They're not learning the theory. You know, you can memorize the questions to get your tech, but get on the air and start learning the theory. And you'll find something that
You say it's like getting your learner's permit.
it's like getting your learner's permit
For
when
driving.
you become a tech. You can get on the air, you can get on 10 meters. 10 meters right now with the sunset cycle.
You can work all over the world with that right now.
10 meters the other day just when I was testing the Go box out in the backyard. And I heard a guy in Australia saying he was running a watt. And he had a pileup, 1 watt from Australia. And I tried a couple times to get him, but I was like, the dogs next door were barking at me. And,
But for those of you who don't know, Australia, other side of the world from here in Florida,
yeah.
and a watt, your light bulb's running at least 40. So the fact that we can do that and we can just use a wire for that makes us, makes things a lot more interesting. But even if you're not interested in building your own, you can still do a lot.
Make you a superhero after a storm.
That's true.
Yeah.
If you live in places like us, we're in Florida, so after
Except when you're
hurricanes,
rescuing, you're a
yeah.
superhero.
I remember I used to work as a cameraman for the Weather Channel, and a freelance storm chaser. And I was storm chasing in Hurricane Michael back in 2017 in the Panhandle. And I was there, I was listening on HF, and like, is anybody in whatever county, Liberty County or Calhoun, I don't even remember. And I was like, looking at my GPS, yeah, I actually am. Got on the radio and I said, yeah, I'm here. Can you go to the EOC? We haven't heard from them in over 24 hours. Got there, ended up getting them in contact with the state EOC, and while I was there, a fire chief and a county emergency manager from the county next to him came, and they're like, we have a firefighter who is septic and the hospital, the roof is gone, and he's going to die if we can't get him an airlift. And I was in contact with the state EOC. I said, look, I'm going to give the mic to this fire chief. And he called in an airlift, and I believe it was the Coast Guard, flew out of Mobile, picked this firefighter up, took him to Pensacola, and saved his life. Amateur radio can save lives. And then for like a week or so afterwards, I ended up at a shelter helping with communications. And I remember at night when there was no way we could talk from where I was to Tallahassee, because a band did what they call went long, where you're talking long distances. And there was this guy, Tommy, in West Virginia. And Tommy was there every night to relay messages.
Yep.
And
Said he had never been out of West Virginia.
never,
before.
yeah, he had never been out of West Virginia. Tommy in West Virginia. It was his
He saved
accent.
lives.
He did. He saved lives, and he
Just sitting at his house.
amateur radio. You hear the what is it? The old adage of like amateur radio when all else fails. The chance of all else failing is becoming less and less as time goes on. But with Kim Jong-un, all else could fail because he pops off a nuke in space and takes out all the satellites, and now Starlink doesn't work. And amateur radio operators who know Morse code or know how to cobble together a transmitter and a receiver can communicate. And that's why we have ham radio, for innovation and for, if it hits the fan, a cadre of people who know how to make things work when things aren't supposed to work, or they're not working. Does that answer your question?
I don't know who asked it. Hope handed me the camera. I don't know who asked.
So,
Lots of questions. They're the answers.
how many people?
Someone said yes.
Answered the question. Guys, I don't know how many we got watching or how long we've been on. Probably close to
9 people, an hour and a half.
I'm getting hit by mosquitoes pretty hard. You can hear.
The highway.
No, that's the speedway.
I don't think so.
No,
That's the
I
highway.
think it's the highway.
That is not a speedway. That is a teenager in their new car type of sound. Not
It's
a.
been on for an hour.
No, it's not the speedway.
Okay.
We now have 10 people. Keep talking. No leaving.
Yeah,
They
so,
had their dinner and they came
They
back.
had their dinner and they came back. I mean, oh, it's now gotten cold. Hope put on a
Yeah.
jacket
And her hat.
and her smiley hat, her
Oh yeah, she's got a.
snowman hat.
She matches me. Those of you who saw me earlier, I have the same hat. She's covering it. Oh, my own hat just fell off.
It's very stylish. Very festive.
Yeah, couple bucks at Walmart. Would recommend.
So, Zechariah, you got any other cool things that you want to do show and tell with?
Not that I can think of. Well, I do have Phantom 4 as well.
He's got another drone in
You're-
normal
It's a more
speak.
recent one.
What are you
Probably
doing with
does
that?
not-
So you're buying them used
Well,
and broken?
Pretty much, yeah. As I said with the other one, it hadn't flown in about 7 years. Oh, I didn't even get into detail about what had to be replaced. I can bring that out again.
Yeah, he'll be back.
If we can get Zechariah to talk excitedly, that's a good thing, because he is a computer geek, and they don't like to talk
An
about
airplane geek.
an airplane geek too. Yeah,
He's an airplane geek first and
and
foremost.
I mean that in a very endearing way. But Zechariah is not the outgoing, "Hi, welcome to HamRadio.World." So
Zechariah fixes all the Wikipedia page mistakes having
Yeah.
to do with the airplanes that he loves.
Zechariah, comment said, "Wow, drones are so cool." I think you'd like to hear that.
Okay. Thank you.
Right? You fix the Wikipedia pages.
I'm actually about to do that for the Phantom. So keep an eye out. The current page is a mess. In the next month, maybe it'll be a lot better and actually formatted like a proper aircraft article instead of an iPhone article.
He's been doing that for like 12 years now.
Right now
He's
now
like
it's written
20.
like a mobile device, which this is not a mobile device. This is an aircraft. Yeah, but anyway.
What's your
So
favorite
when I
cards?
first got this, it had been sitting in a trailer for years. We had recently just rediscovered it. No one in the current club had ever flown it. We don't even know who last flew it. Inside the micro SD slot was a card that had a video from 2017. That was the last video, so that's the last time we know it flew. The gimbal mounts were broken. The bottom half of the shell was cracked, especially near the motors, so I had to replace that entirely. And that's probably the hardest part, because everything is attached to the bottom half of the shell. I had to gut this thing and replace everything in a new half. I even transferred the serial number over, so it's still legally the same. It's like replacing a data plate on a plane.
So what are you learning by doing this?
Engineering, of course.
Engineering, of course.
Not really any specific type of engineering. One thing I did do that's new, this is what I was talking about earlier. The FAA now requires all drones to be, or all drones above, I think it's 250 grams, to be registered and transmit remote ID signals, which is like ADSB for drones. So you can tell, everyone knows where the drone is. This drone was built about 10 years before that was required. So what I had to do was I had to get this remote ID module, and I 3D printed I designed and 3D printed a case to hold it in.
So it's Velcro?
Yeah, this is Velcroed on here. And I was actually pretty lucky with this, because the Phantom 2 series, you can't do this with the newer ones, but the Phantom 2 series has an open slot on its receiver, because this was before DJI started designing their own receivers. They were using third-party receivers, so they weren't using all the channels yet. So I was able to draw power from the receiver, and therefore the main battery, to power the module. On the Phantom 4, I'm having to be a little bit more creative with that, because you can't do that anymore. And there are also no holes to, like here, I'm feeding it through the landing gear hole. Can't do that on the new one. So I'm just still figuring that one out. So other than the bottom half, I also replaced the Wi-Fi module, because I was not getting any video downlink. So this camera with the gimbal is great and all, but if you don't have downlink to your phone or another device, you don't know what you're taking a picture of, so it's practically useless. So I replaced that. I now have video downlink, so I can tell what I'm taking pictures of. The compass module, this thing right here, that had also gone bad. So I replaced that and accidentally upgraded it. So there are two models of this drone. There's the V2 and the V3. The V1 was the original Vision, which did not have a gimbal. This was built as a V2, so it was an earlier model. But the V3 had several changes, but the most noticeable was it had an improved compass module, and I didn't know that at the time. So when I was looking for replacements, this was the only one that was still available that I was able to find, at least, because this thing's been discontinued for almost 10 years now. So finding parts for this is a bit hard, but when I found this, I bought it thinking it was the right one. Turns out technically correct, but it's different and a little bit better than the one it came with.
We'll take better.
Yeah, it is compatible. That's the biggest thing that I was worried about.
Someone asked earlier, your favorite CAD like software and your favorite programming language. The person who asked labeled themselves as a fellow geek. So,
First of all, favorite programming language, anything but Python.
What about assembly?
Yes, I'll take assembly over Python. Python just makes me mad.
okay.
Doesn't even have any punctuation at the end of lines. Yeah. Yeah, Verilog over Python.
Verilog
As for 3D modeling, it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm just going to design something like this with simple shapes, Tinkercad is going to work. I've also worked with Blender to create airfoils, although I have not yet worked with any of the airfoils physically yet. So that's for when you need more complex shapes. So it's pretty much been those two. I've also tried to get into Autodesk Inventor. Haven't quite figured that one out just yet. No, I have not taken any classes for any of this because that's not in my, computer engineering does not require 3D CAD classes. So I had to teach myself pretty much everything I know. So yeah, well, let's say favorite programming language, probably C or Java.
So I just started using with Shack in the Box a program called Shaper, SHAPR 3D, and it's built on the Parasolid kernel, which is what SolidWorks is built on. And if you have, what was that?
I'm just looking at it.
I'm cold.
Oh yeah, hope
It
is
built on SolidWorks, same kernel as SolidWorks. And Matt Young, my friend from high school, who's the engineer, he's working on the MQ-25 drone and also on the F-18. And he also was a senior engineer at Cessna for a long time. He's been designing these brackets and shelves and stuff for us in SolidWorks, and I didn't even have a way to open them and see them. And then I found this program, and I got the trial, and then it was like, are we going to be able to afford to pay for it when the trial's up? And then found out that Hope has a .edu email address, so she got a free year subscription for it, and I really like it. I've today just modeled the MAT 705 tuner. We're designing a grab and go box for the ICOM 705 and working to design brackets and the panel for it. And I like Shaper a lot.
Well, you're designing, I'm building.
Yeah, Michelle's doing the building right now.
He takes like 10 times the amount of time to build and pick up screws.
I
and
dropped so
He
many
drops.
screws.
and
and-
washers.
I
And
can
the-
vouch for that.
And when you have no fingers, you can't pick them up.
And
Michelle came up with an idea to make an attachment to go on the end of the hose of the shop vac so that it will suck them up, but not suck them into
like a mesh or
the,
something.
like a mesh. And then, suck everything up and then turn it off over a bucket or something like that. And I just need to have time to do that. I want to do that and see how it works, because I think it would work.
Put a sock over it.
Yeah, it's like a magnet, but like these aren't magnetic. Yeah.
We're using all the hardware we use is stainless, so it's not magnetic. I dropped so many screws.
He's falling.
It's like walking through a house with Legos.
Yes, but it doesn't hurt my feet.
For those, no, it doesn't hurt your feet.
It hurts your tires.
Yeah, it does hurt my tires. Something that we just found out about is a stuff called PEM hardware, PEM. And these are nuts and studs and things that get pressed down into the metal. And so we've got brackets like we designed for the ICOM 7300 or for the 90 FT991 or for the speakers and the shells and everything. And right now we're putting a number 8 screw through there, and then we're putting a washer, and we're putting a Nylox lock nut on it. But then I realized today, I was like, wait a second, we could just put PEM hardware on each of the 4 holes on this bracket, and the PEM hardware costs like 25, 30 cents to buy it and have it put on. That's cheaper than the hardware to buy the lock nut. So I won't have to hold washers and screws and all that stuff.
Our feet will thank you.
Huh?
Our feet will thank you.
Yeah.
So we'll stop stepping on it.
You're looking like you want to say something. No,
Yeah, why you doing that?
not trees. It's
Yeah, it is. It took us 8 years to figure this out.
yeah. Well,
Be quiet.
you know what?
We're messing with him.
You can go and build your own Go box.
We fix it for you.
There was.
We'll fix it for you.
We'll fix it for you. There was a couple years ago at a Ham Fest, a snafu or something happened, and there was another Go box company that was in the booth we were supposed to be in, and our booth was put right next to them. And we build Rolls-Royce Go boxes or Mercedes Go boxes. We build very high quality. We build it with the idea that is minimum amount of things that could break and the best quality components. The other one that was next to us was the other end of the spectrum. And there's markets for both. I'm not disparaging them at all, but somebody who makes name tags at HamRadio, HamFest, went to their booth and made me a tag that we put on the booth now that says "We fix $5 Go boxes." And people were like, "So what's that all about?" And I said, "Go look at his and then come back and see ours." And they're like, "Oh, I see what that is." So there is competition out there for Shack in a Box now, and we've been asked, can you just make something cheap so that the non-hams, like in North Carolina, could put a $40 radio in it. And like, look, if you're not a ham, I'm not going to build you a Go box anyway, because I do believe in licensing. But
They wanted to use it without any
if
licenses.
you want to try and build your own Go box, we fix $5 Go boxes. But the thing is that Go box is going to cost you. We've got, I believe it's close to $40,000 in mistakes over the last 9 years that we've been building Go boxes. Misdrilled or
Probably.
and the investment in tools is in the tens of thousands of dollars to have the right tool,
The right
to
drill bit,
the right drill bit, the right tool to be able to, we have special screwdrivers that can go around corners and it's not anything that anybody else can get. I mean, you can get them, but when you need that screwdriver that costs $20 to build your Go box, and you're only putting one screw in with it, that's a lot of money to get that one screw in it. We've bought it over the years and are using it for that one screw in every Go box we build, is what I'm getting at. There's a lot of investment of time, energy, money, and mistakes. And you learn from your mistakes. Joe Binkley, KD8YPY, helped me at the dating him, Vincent? Where are you kicking him?
I don't know.
Did we just-
Carry on.
That usually means stop talking.
No, sorry, continue.
Uh,
You're just the first person
he
there.
helped me at Hamvention, and people were like, well, I think I'll just build my own. And he goes, so how many LEDs you going to buy to stick in the holes that you drill on? I was like, that's a great response, you know, because we've done that in the past, put a screw in a hole, not on something we sold, but when we made something for ourselves and we messed it up, you cover it up and make it look like you meant to do it.
The messed up ones always go to our personal go
Yeah,
boxes.
we don't sell messed up stuff. Zechariah looks like he's got something here that he wants to talk about.
Yeah, this one is the Phantom 4. So this is the not the last Phantom drone, but it's part of the last generation. I'll first say this: the Phantom is technically not discontinued. They just haven't made new ones in a while. So there's a chance there might be a Phantom 5, but as of right now, Phantom 4 series is the last that was released.
And they're doing
So,
the Mavic now, the
Yeah,
smaller one?
it's mostly been replaced by the Mavic, as well as the Matrice. But Phantom 4 generation brought a major design change to the shell, which has posed a little bit of a challenge for me. Because it wasn't until the Phantom 4 Pro that DJI put a remote ID module into this. This is the standard model. So this was built before, and this was also built before the remote ID requirement. But it's been posing a bit of a challenge for me because there are no flat surfaces on here, at least not any that do not block sensor. This version introduced some collision avoidance and other sensors that should not be blocked. So one idea I've had, but I have not tested yet, is to use a take this off here. This is a gimbal immobilizer, I guess is what the proper term is. One idea I've had is I noticed this has a flat surface. I can attach it to the landing gear under the battery. I can then put the remote ID module here. So it's still pointing up like it should. And it's out of the way of any sensors. But another problem that the other one does not have is that there are no holes large enough to put a wire through to the battery.
You have a drill.
I don't want to drill this thing.
Okay.
Look at
It's
this.
precious.
This thing's like new. It's not new, it's also really old, but it's yeah. I also don't think this one has any open channel connections like the other one does, because by this point they had started using their own receivers.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the remote ID has to be pointed up. Is that because it's got a
It's got a
GPS
small
GPS sensor in
GPS module. You probably wouldn't be able to see it, but in the right light it's visible. Yeah, it's like a brown
It's
and
too
silver
close.
square.
So it's essentially what it is a transponder,
Yes.
and from what I was reading about it the other day, they use Bluetooth and/or Wi-Fi.
In the US, it's mostly Wi-Fi, but it can also be Bluetooth, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I know in Europe, it's similar. Oh, that's another story. At the competition for the SUAS that I mentioned earlier, although we did not participate, we were invited to the competition as observers. And there was one team from the Czech Republic that had an issue. I was talking with them about the issue they were having. They had to kind of step down from the competition because they were having remote ID issues. Turns out the system that they use in the Czech Republic is not quite compatible, or they're using, I guess, I forgot which one is more common, but they were using either Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, whichever one was more common over there, but was not compatible with the system they were using at the competition. So they couldn't see the other aircraft in the air, others couldn't see them, and as they had learned earlier in the competition with another team, if two drones are blind to each other and don't have any other sort of collision avoidance, they're gonna collide. There was a battery fire that happened because of that. Two drones collided. One of them flipped, inverted, landed on its batteries.
So
Yeah.
remote ID is actually receiving signals from other
Yes.
drones. So it's
is.
like ADS-BN on
Yes.
an airplane.
Yes. It not only allows the FAA to see where it is, to keep full-size aircraft away from them, it also is essential for autonomous drones. So drones that fly with no human input, they should be able to see each other, or else a collision will happen.
Makes sense.
But because there are multiple systems, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, it can be a bit challenging. They all have to be on the same system, or else they're not going to see each other.
Here's a question relating to chat. Someone says that they like our boxes, but can they come to the UK?
Yes.
Okay.
We can, the lithium iron phosphate batteries can't ship by air. So you can't do like a solar generator, but we can build them and ship them by DHL. We had one go as far as the Philippines with DHL. It's not the cheapest way to do it, but it can be done. Yes.
Can I change the subject a second and say, hope you found that somebody is doing Grace's call sign with CW.
Oh yeah.
And
It
is not
appears that way.
Someone's been
yeah.
spotting me, but I've been so busy with school. I haven't been on
So-
since Yoda camp.
Well, especially not
I've
30
been
words
to
a
it.
minute on
It
CW.
It looks like the reverse beacon network is
Okay.
getting a false hit.
Yeah, but like
on-
constantly.
Apparently, from what I read, there are a lot of false hits. So the reverse beacon network, from what I read, and you guys may go, James, you don't know what you're talking about. You're right. I don't. I just read about it today. Apparently, it is computers that skim and listen with SDRs and decode the CW, the Morse code, and then they spot that they heard this person.
My point is, Grace does not do CW. It is not her.
No.
I don't think it's her.
I've tried picking it up, but I can't do that fast.
Not yet,
I don't
no.
even know all the letters yet.
Is doing CW. So KE3G, Kilo Echo 3 Golf, has been on the reverse beacon network a few times. Faith Hannah got a QSL card not long ago, and actually I got one as well not long ago. For you worked me from somewhere. I'm like, I was dead in the hospital at that time. I didn't work you. And it could be just,
We have QSL cards we have not been able to keep up with.
yeah.
It should be in Logbook of the World if it's, you should be able to have
yeah.
that, but QSL cards, there's not been time.
So, will we get back busy on the air again? I think we will. I would like to, even if it's in the backyard, try to do a winter field day or something on my own to just be able to prove myself that I could do it. I don't know that I'll do that, but
I'm getting closer to building the Home Go box again. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting closer. My backlog of builds are not as backlogged.
we had,
Can you back up? You're like taking up the whole camera. Or can you move forward or something? I'm trying to put you both in the camera and I keep accidentally cutting off his head. I can't fit you both in.
Anyway,
Sorry.
Anyway,
we had, over the summer, we had as many as like 20 or more in line. We had a lot of orders this summer.
I come down to, I think I figured today,
3 or 4.
I think there's 4 or 5. I sent out 2. Hope and Grace and I boxed up 2 last night and got them out today.
Mhm.
So,
We're making
and there's still
progress.
some that are in his brain and not,
Yeah.
I can't build them because they're in his brain still.
Cash,
So-
if you're watching, I showed you the CAD drawings.
He's,
We're working on designing a whole brand new Go box.
the ones I can build, I build. Hopefully tomorrow we can start working on the
There
ones
is
in his
somebody
head.
who's asked us to come up with one for the Elecraft KX3, but I don't know that we're going to be able to do it. I can't figure out a way to keep it cool.
Well, it's not one of those. It's not one of those.
No,
Backlog.
Not backlog. They gave us a radio and said, come up with something and I'll pay you. But we're not, my design philosophy is, if we can't do it right, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it haphazardly because you want a box. Starting to get cold out here too.
It's starting to get damp.
Yeah.
It's not cloudy.
It had been earlier.
There was a rocket launch earlier today. I forgot to go out and look at it. We have rocket launches in our backyard, literally.
Well, they don't launch in our backyard, but we can see them.
We watch them.
We watch them.
At our old house, it was in our front yard. Now it's in our backyard. Last call for questions, everybody.
Well, someone said they made their first ISS contact. It's not a
Cool.
question, but that's an achievement.
Congratulations.
You know, I have not spoken to the ISS. I've spoken to the repeater. One of our most viewed videos on amateur radio is ND1C talks to the ISS, or astronaut in space. I was going with Jim, ND1C, to the DeLand, Florida volunteer examiner session, and I saw on Facebook that Sabrina Anon Chancellor, I think her name was making unscheduled contacts. And I looked and I saw, wow, there's an ISS pass coming by. I got to Jim's house, ran out, I was like, dude, get in the truck right now. We're going to drive out in the broccoli field and try to talk to the ISS from the truck. And he's like, what? And sure enough, using a Larson dual band antenna, a vertical antenna, you
In
hear
the
her
Suburban.
in the Suburban, in the middle of a broccoli field in Bunnell, North Carolina, or Bunnell,
Florida.
Florida. We hear her talking, and I'm like, I love him, he's my friend, I'm gonna let him go first. And he's like, ND1C, and she's like, ND1C, welcome to the ISS. And he sits there and goes, for like 10 seconds, and I'm like, quick, let's talk to her. And he made the contact, and that was the last contact I think she made that whole time she was up there. Because when she left the coast of North America, she stopped making contacts on every pass. That was her last pass. So our old Suburban has contacted the ISS and talked to an astronaut. I myself have not.
But you drove the Suburban so close enough.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get to talk to Hope.
Okay. When Hope
We
gets
have
to be the
dibs.
first person, it's either going to be me or Michelle to
We
talk to her on the moon.
We have dibs, first ones.
You know, I always wanted to fly a UH-1 helicopter, a Huey helicopter, and Zechariah got a chance when he was 12 to fly one, and I was on it at the same time, and I was like, when they told him he was going to fly it, I'm like, man, and I'm like, wait a minute, my kid's flying this helicopter. But if Michelle was going to be the first person to talk to Hope on the moon, that would be totally cool.
He's saying that, but he's not meaning that.
Yeah.
I hear that. I can read between the lines there too.
I
Mm-hmm.
would let you do it.
You have like
It would
bold
be
font
okay,
in the
but it
middle.
wouldn't be perfect.
Someone was asking if we're gonna be at Hamcation. That's the current plan. I'm gonna drag my club down there too.
Yes, so we have a booth at Hamcation in the big hall. We are on, if you're standing there where all the food is, and you're facing it from the food stands, come in the door, hang a left, and we are on that outside wall on the
Well,
left.
the food was down at the end last time.
Oh yeah.
I never made it outside at Hamcation. If just ask for Shack in a Box, you'll find us. We
Hard to miss the bright purple.
Yeah, we tend to have purple. I'm not sure how we're gonna do it this year.
We
But
plan to be there. and we have almost all our grow boxes built again. And I've now that we have these new shelves that are very complex to put in, I won't be selling off our demos
Mm-hmm.
quite as often.
That's what he said last
I
time.
know that's what he said last time, and because he was going to have a surgery, and then he was going to have the next 6 weeks to recover, and he was going to rebuild them. The problem
Well, it's
is,
gonna
Well, but even
redesign
after
redesign
that,
them, rebuild them. However, he never woke up from the surgery, so we had nothing, not one single demo box. And so when we went to that hamcation after
You-
the surgery, we
you
went
went-
pretty much empty-handed, except our home go box and I think one other box
And you went
And we
basically
said-
to be able to talk to
to
people,
just
right?
tell people. I said, if we sell nothing, that's okay.
a couple of people are leaving. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think we
It's
need
late,
to.
our
It's
UK
late for
friend.
Mhm.
I
Been
think
on a
we
long
need
time.
to.
Should have been 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're at 156.
We need to say thank you for watching, and
Good night, Gracie.
good night, Gracie.
Why are they saying that to
Um,
me? And I've
Hey,
never
guys,
seen that show.
Please do go to the No Limb Gym YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Hit the bell for notifications. Do the same thing here on HamRadio.World if you're not already.
No Limb Gym is in L-I-M-B.
LIMB. Faith Hannah came
No
up with
Limb
that.
Gym.
No Limb Gym.
It is not offensive. Faith Hannah came up with it.
Mhm.
When your children come
Yeah.
up with a name, it's not offensive.
Yeah, it's not offensive. And please go in the description of this video, copy and paste the GoFundMe link, and share it all over social media, and spam your friends with it, and tell them that we're legit. We do still need help financially. We are still struggling, even though the business is starting to take off again, which is good. So for now, with that, we usually end by saying
73.
73.
73, and then hope
And
there's a
we'll
little
say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Mhm.
Happy Hanukkah.
Shot, everyone. 73. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. All that.
And,
I'm in the shot.
How
And-
can you
and-
flip the screen and get in?
yeah, and hope there's a X button up in the top left.
Mhm.
Thanks
See
for
you guys.
Thanks for
for
hanging out with
watching.
us.
Thank you for loving us and for supporting us. We really do feel it and appreciate it.
We do. Good night.
And you guys, Zechariah has used more words than he's used in the last month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Bro spoke more here than he did for a senior design project. Your presentation.
We're messing with them.
I was on his senior design team. We built a lovely robot. That's a story for another day.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Let me say 73
Mm-hmm.
and go get something to eat.
Bye.
73.
Bye, guys.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
73.